Chapter 931. Although the figure was extremely vague in the water, Qi Yanran could tell at a glance that the person in front of her was Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu. Qi Yanran did not expect to meet Li Zhongjiu at this time. To be precise, she did not expect Li Zhongjiu to appear at this moment. It was so timely, as if he had been following her all the way. Qi Yanran spat out a few bubbles from her mouth. A stream of water poured into Qi Yanran's mouth and choked her. Li Zhongjiu's figure instantly approached Qi Yanran and kissed her thin and tender lips. Immediately, a stream of qi flowed into Qi Yanran's body. Finally, Qi Yanran was able to catch her breath. However, Qi Yanran was obviously caught off guard by Li Zhongjiu's kiss. She did not expect that Li Zhongjiu would do such a thing in such a situation. Li Zhongjiu himself did not expect that. Shouldn't this be something that young people would do? In fact, Li Zhongjiu did not know what kind of mentality he should have to live in this world now. However, Li Zhongjiu had always followed his own principles. However, there were always some things that required a certain attitude. Li Zhongjiu did not think about it before, but doing such a behavior under the water was also Li Zhongjiu's subconscious. This action also opened a closed door in Li Zhongjiu's heart. Oh, Qi Yanran clearly felt that Li Zhongjiu's hand was supporting her waist, and he was exerting a little force. She subconsciously wanted to push Li Zhongjiu away, but how could her strength be compared with Li Zhongjiu's? She was directly suppressed by Li Zhongjiu. At this moment, Qi Yanran's mind was completely in a state of confusion. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu's breath poured into her body, almost making Qi Yanran dizzy and short of breath. After Li Zhongjiu's actions were enough, Qi Yanran quietly pushed Li Zhongjiu away. However, she did not know how to face Li Zhongjiu. She could only lower her head in shame and resentment. Recalling a series of previous events, it seemed that there was no way for her to escape from Li Zhongjiu's palm. Qi Yanran had been extremely curious about everything about Li Zhongjiu since she met Li Zhongjiu in the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. You! Qi Yanran blushed and wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. No one can hurt you in the future. Li Zhongjiu held Qi Yanran's cheek. At this moment, a ray of sunlight shone through the water. Qi Yanran lowered her head deeply. He spoke in a voice as soft as a mosquito's. The two corpses suddenly floated up from the pool. The 5 people who sealed the water were shocked. It was that person who forced the 2 of them out. Immediately, the 5 people's yuan qi condensed into a ball and poured into the pool, stirring up the pool in front of them and forming a huge whirlpool. Following the appearance of the whirlpool, the 2 people under the water did not hesitate. This stick is for you. In the future, you can hit whoever you want. Li Zhongjiu handed the Desolate Heaven Essence to Qi Yanran. Qi Yanran had seen Li Zhongjiu's weapon before. It could even be said that it could easily beat up an primitive emperor expert. Immediately, Qi Yanran did not stand on ceremony. She was filled with anger. These people were relentless and arrogant, wanting to take her life. There was also Qian Fei, who had spoken rudely. No one was willing to endure the humiliation of others. Now, Li Zhongjiu had handed the Desolate Heaven Essence to Qi Yanran. Wasn't his intention obvious? Immediately, Qi Yanran grabbed the Desolate Heaven Essence and rushed to the surface of the water with Li Zhongjiu. Boom! They appeared. The 5 people immediately locked onto the 2 figures that were rushing up from below. At the same time, they gathered their yuan qi and descended. As for Qi Yanran, she waved an object in her hand and suddenly flew up. Boom! The Desolate Heaven Essence smashed towards the 5 people. When it was waved, one could clearly feel the power condensed in the Desolate Heaven Essence, and how terrifying it was. When the 5 people's power collided with the Desolate Heaven Essence, it was instantly shattered. Immediately, the 5 people were sent flying. 2 people fell into the water, while the other 3 landed on the shore. When the 3 of them landed, they were extremely shocked. The person who had been beaten by them without any ability to fight back just now had easily defeated the 5 of them together. It was really hard to imagine. Then, the 3 of them saw Qi Yanran and Li Zhongjiu land on the ground hand in hand. How dare you snatch my girl? The young master beside Qian Fei was holding a sword in his arms. When he looked at the person in front of him again, his eyes flashed coldly. Who was this Li Zhongjiu? How dare he hold the woman he fancied? Although nothing was set in stone yet, since he had taken a fancy to her, she must be his woman. No one could touch her. As for whether Qi Yinran was willing or not, it did not matter much. He tied her hands and feet, and threw her on the bed. She could only be obedient. The three of you kill that kid for me. The reward will be increased tenfold. The young master immediately roared. The 3 Yuan monarchs had been forced to retreat, which was already quite shocking. However, they still had some hope in their hearts. After all, Qi Yinran had not been their match previously. Now she should only be wielding a more powerful weapon. The power of this weapon could not be limitless. It was impossible for them to turn the tables. After exchanging glances, the 2 people who had fallen into the water rushed out and attacked Qi Yinran again. Boom! The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yinran's hand was thrown out. First, the 3 people in front of her fell to the ground. Then, the 2 people behind her were sent flying. When the 2 people were sent flying, they vomited blood. Obviously, they had been seriously injured by this move. They fell into the water and stopped moving. In the next moment, the branches of the longevity tree also emerged from the water and instantly pierced the hearts and lungs of the 2 Yuan monarchs. She did not give them any chance to turn the tables. Li Zhongjiu was also very impressed with such a method. Using the last hit when she had the upper hand was very wise and worthy of encouragement. After easily killing the 2 Yuan monarchs, the 3 people who had fallen to the ground understood that the weapon in the woman's hand was not to be underestimated. They immediately greeted each other and fled in 3 different directions. Qi Yinran could not catch up with them. But how could Li Zhongjiu let the 3 of them escape? With a wave of his hand, a surge of energy swept the 3 of them back. Furthermore, each of them had lost a leg. Fresh blood flowed out. This young man who had just appeared was the real deal. Qian Fei and the young master were so frightened that their faces turned pale when they saw that the subordinates they had brought had been defeated. You, what do you want? Chapter 932. Qian Fei wanted to escape, but when he thought about how the 3 great Yuan monarch experts had not even had the chance to escape, how could he possibly do it? Furthermore, he had lost a leg. Heroine, please spare my life. The young master who had been clamoring to get rid of Qi Yinran immediately knelt before the 2 of them. It's all his fault. It's all his idea. He gave me money and asked me to find someone to get rid of you. This has nothing to do with me. I'm not very close to him. Qi Yinran did not answer these people. Instead, she raised her hand and a cold light surged. The branches of the longevity tree penetrated the chests of the 3 people in front of her. It did not take long for the 3 Yuan monarchs to bleed to death. Their bodies fell to the ground. They had become 3 corpses. At this point, a total of 7 Yuan monarch-level powerhouses had been invited, and all of them were dead. Qi Yinran looked a little weak on the outside. But this did not mean that she was a weak person. She had not hesitated when she had attacked. Previously, these people had wanted to take her life. Qi Yinran looked at Li Zhongjiu. What she meant was how these 2 people should be dealt with. Logically speaking, these people had been disrespectful to Qi Yinran. If it had been an ordinary person, they would have definitely dismembered these 2 shameless people. However, Qi Yinran knew that these 2 people's identities were not simple. Regardless of whether it was this young master or Qian Fei, the family forces behind them were not simple. It would be fine if one of their legs was broken. After all, they were still alive. Everything would be fine if they were still alive. However, if they were killed, things would not be so easy to deal with. Li Zhongjiu understood Qi Yinran's concerns. Li Zhongjiu had been an evil lord in his previous life. When had he ever been afraid? It was the same in the Haika dynasty. If Li Zhongjiu could make a name for himself in the Sacred Flame Royal City, he could naturally make a name for himself in the Haika dynasty. After all, from the beginning to the end, Li Zhongjiu had relied on his own 2 hands and 2 feet to fight for a piece of the sky. You are my woman now. In this world, everyone who has bullied you must die. Li Zhongjiu said calmly. Then he walked towards the 2 with his hands behind his back. I will kill the people you don't dare to kill. When they saw Li Zhongjiu walking towards them, the 2 of them were scared out of their wits. The so-called young master was so scared that he lost control of his bowels. My father is Zhang Baijio from the Infernal Colosseum. What do you think you're doing? My father won't let you off. The young master shouted loudly, but Li Zhongjiu kicked him in the chest. He left a footprint on the young master's chest, which protruded from his back. The deformation was so severe. His internal organs had long been shattered by Li Zhongjiu's power. Qianfei didn't expect that Li Zhongjiu would dare to kill him. He had spent a lot of money to make this friend, but now he was kicked to death. Qianfei was extremely shocked. You, how much money do you want? Let me go, I won't dare to do it again. Qianfei was shocked, but he still wanted to live. He shouted directly at Li Zhongjiu, and almost knelt down in front of Li Zhongjiu. Bang! Li Zhongjiu didn't bother to talk nonsense with Qianfei. He kicked him out directly, causing Qianfei and the young master surnamed Zhang to fall to the same fate. The third young master of the Qian family. He died tragically in the wild like this. Killing these people was no different from stepping on ants for Li Zhongjiu. And this kind of hatred was basically avenged on the spot. After all, Qi Yanran's identity was different now. His woman couldn't be provoked by anyone. In this way, Li Zhongjiu still felt a little guilty. After all, he was an old monster of more than 3,000 years. If he fell in love with this teenage girl, it was simply like an old cow eating young grass. But in fact, Li Zhongjiu wasn't an old man in his previous life. His late-stage cultivation made his appearance fixed in his 20s. Li Zhongjiu didn't want to age too fast. If he changed too much, what if he couldn't recognize his father or mother when he suddenly saw them one day? This was also a thought in Li Zhongjiu's heart. Now that he had been reborn and faced his reborn parents again, Li Zhongjiu also sighed in his heart. Nature made fools of people, but it made Li Zhongjiu feel very comfortable. Li Zhongjiu could bear the hardships he had experienced in his previous life alone. 10 bodies were left on the scene. 5 bodies were floating on the water. 5 people had fallen on the shore. These 7 masters were all brought out from the arena by Child Zhang. If Child Zhang could have recognized that Li Zhongjiu was the evil lord and knew that the evil lord had killed Mr. Gao today, he wouldn't have dared to confront Li Zhongjiu. They probably wouldn't dare to make an enemy out of Li Zhongjiu. They might even start to run away after seeing him from afar. In front of Li Zhongjiu, they had no chance to show off. It was also the first time that Qi Yanran felt protected. She always felt warm in her heart. However, Li Zhongjiu seemed to be a little shy, and didn't take the initiative to step forward and hold Qi Yanran's hand. Anyway, his old face was there. How could he have the nerve to do that? However, since Li Zhongjiu had already said that, and he had done that to Qi Yanran under the water just now, which made Qi Yanran extremely shy, she still stepped forward and held Li Zhongjiu's arm. It was also the first time that both of them had such an experience. This kind of mental journey was also extremely complicated. Fortunately, Qi Yanran didn't mean to reject Li Zhongjiu, which also made Li Zhongjiu feel relieved. He put his hand around Qi Yanran's waist. In terms of feelings, Li Zhongjiu was no different from a child. Although there were some feelings in the previous life, for Li Zhongjiu, it was not sincere. It was like a kind of pressure from fate that pressed them together. This time Li Zhongjiu took the initiative to choose. Weren't you in the room with Ling Yan? On the way, Qi Yanran also stared at Li Zhongjiu. Could it be that Li Zhongjiu was a veteran in love? After eating Ling Yan, he wanted to eat her as well. Oh, I arranged a yuan inscription formation for her to repair her meridians, and then I came out. Li Zhongjiu said. Tonight's change was also unexpected by Qi Yanran. Not only Qi Yanran, but even Li Zhongjiu himself didn't expect that it would become such a situation. It seemed that he still lived too comfortably. That was why there was such a psychological change. Otherwise, with Li Zhongjiu's character, he would definitely not do such a thing. Just now in the water, it seemed that he couldn't help himself. Why did you run out? Naturally, it was safe to stay in the inn. That inn also had an extremely strong background. Not to mention that the Black River Elixir Palace had given them a call. Presumably, in the Heike dynasty, not many people would be stupid enough to go against the Black River Elixir Palace. After all, this was someone else's territory, and there was no one here. It was better to not show up. It was not safe anyway. I just came out to relax. Qi Yinran lowered her head and said. Of course, she wouldn't tell Li Zongjio that it was because Li Zongjio and Ling Yin were in the room. They didn't know what was going on, and they were even upset, so she came out to relax and walk around. How about this, the next time you come out, I will accompany you. It's dangerous outside, Li Zongjio said. The two returned to the inn side by side. When the inn's shopkeeper saw the two of them coming in, his face immediately showed a smile that he knew what they were thinking. Look at the two of you. Aren't you going to get a room? I have a special couple room here. Just call me, and I will get it for you. I won't charge you. Why do you have to work so hard and go to other places? The shopkeeper thought that Li Zongjio and Ling Yin went out to get a room, so he was a little dissatisfied. Qi Yinran also lowered her head, and her face was slightly red. She didn't think that she would do that kind of thing so soon. This development was a little too fast for Qi Yinran. Li Zongjio didn't pay much attention to the shopkeeper, but said directly, Then you can get a room for us. Li Zongjio you. Qi Yinran listened to Li Zongjio's words, and felt even more ashamed. She usually had a cold personality, but in front of Li Zongjio, she could no longer maintain that image. Chapter 933. In the end, of course, Qi Yinran did not enter the couple's room with Li Zongjio. Instead, she returned to her room. Li Zongjio gave her an elixir, and asked her to heal herself. Because the injury was not serious, one elixir was enough to heal it. Li Zongjio also needed to take a break. It was too early for such a thing to happen so soon. If there was any danger in the future, Li Zongjio must protect Qi Yinran, and never let her suffer any harm. From then on, he had one more responsibility. Qi Yinran sat on the bed, and recalled so many things that had happened before. Those things flashed in Qi Yinran's heart like a dream. She seemed to see Li Zongjio appear from the water and rush to her, killing two enemies who were about to be killed, kissing her directly without hesitation. This guy must have been planning for a long time. Qi Yinran's heart itched when she thought that Li Zongjio had succeeded so easily, but he did not know that Qi Yinran had surrendered too quickly, or she had already surrendered from the beginning. In the future, I can't let this guy be too arrogant. Qi Yinran thought that she must teach Li Zongjio a lesson. Otherwise, with this guy's strength and charm, he would definitely hook up with girls everywhere. Of course, Qi Yinran, whose mood was still unstable, was just imagining things here. She did not know how to face Li Zongjio at all. When she saw him later, it would probably be the same situation. When Li Zongjio returned to his room, Ling Yin was also adjusting his breath. After the initial adjustment, the injury of Ling Yan's meridians had been completely healed. After adjusting his breath, he opened his eyes and saw that Li Zongjio had returned. Although he was dissatisfied with Li Zongjio's behavior of jumping out of the window last night, at least Li Zongjio had adjusted his meridians. This made Ling Yin not know how to thank Li Zongjio. Your origin pattern formation is truly powerful. My injuries have completely healed. Ling Yin said excitedly. 10 upper-grade primordial stones. You have to pay me back later. Li Zongjio said. Even when dealing with the King of Fire, Li Zongjio was clear about his debts, let alone Ling Yan. Hearing that Li Zongjio was actually so calculative about this, Ling Yan's mouth twitched. However, Li Zongjio's price was already considered fair. It was just that Ling Yan's cost price was not cheap to hire an Yuan pattern master to inscribe this Yuan pattern array. It was likely that Ling Yan would not be able to afford it. No problem. If you have any problems in the future, just come and find your sister. Ling Yan patted Li Zongjio's shoulder. Now it seemed that Li Zongjio only wanted to heal her meridians, and not have any ideas about her. This made Ling Yan extremely impressed, but at the same time, she was also very angry that this little guy would not be captivated by her charm. This left a grudge in Ling Yan's heart. However, being able to recover his meridians today was simply a joyous occasion. Even if he had to face his opponent tomorrow, he was already filled with confidence. No matter how bad it was, he would still be able to win a match or even tie with his opponent. Therefore, Ling Yan also had a plan in her heart. Li Zongjio naturally did not take Ling Yan's words seriously. Ling Yan's backer was merely the mansion master of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. To be honest, With such a status, others might say that they would be very eager to curry favor with him. However, to Li Zongjie it was nothing. However, Li Zongjie was not a fool. There was no need for him to brush off the latter's face in front of Ling Yan. Then I will take my leave first. As Ling Yan spoke, he swayed his body and directly walked out. Even when he was leaving, he purposely slowed down his footsteps to see if this little guy would suddenly open his mouth to ask him to stay. If that was the case, then this little guy was simply a beast. When Ling Yan walked out of the door, Li Zongjie also very straightforwardly slammed the door shut with a bang. This guy is worse than a beast. Ling Yan was so angry that he stomped his feet and directly walked to his room. The Black Chu royal city was very lively today. To the outside world, the most lively thing was that the third young master of the Qian family, Qian Fei, was beaten to death outside a pond forest. There were also 7 experts from the Inferno Arena who died together with him. In addition, there was another person. This person was also one of the highest-ranking members of the Inferno Arena, Zhang Baijio's son, Zhang Xiaochuan. These two were the most powerful young masters in the city. Today, they were directly kicked in the heart and died happily. It was obvious that they had offended some people that they could not afford to offend, resulting in such an outcome. Qian Tianding brought Qian Fei's corpse back. Facing Qian Fei's corpse, the entire Qian family's atmosphere was extremely gloomy. Who let him out? Qian Fei and Qian Liang were both in a state of tight confinement. Qian Tianding had already given the order previously, but now, there was actually someone who dared to defy Qian Tianding's order. They had secretly let Qian Fei out. It was obvious that Qian Fei had joined forces with Zhang Xiaochuan to seek revenge on Li Zongjie. However, these people were simply stupid. If a mere 7 yuan monarchs could take care of Li Zongjie, would Qian Tianding still need to spend a lot of money to find a top-notch assassin family? Now he had lost his life for nothing. Qian Tianding usually doted on Qian Fei very much. Qian Tianding's gaze fell on his favorite third madam. The third madam was Qian Fei's birth mother. Other than the third madam, there was probably no one else who dared to do so. However, how could the third madam come out to accept her punishment? Immediately, the old housekeeper who was in charge of taking care of the third madam's daily life knelt down in front of Qian Tianding. Master, I deserve to die. I caused the death of the young master. It's all my fault. How dare you? From today onwards, I'd like to see who dares to defy my orders. Qian Tianding kicked the old servant away. The old servant's body flew backward and instantly smashed into the wall in the distance. His bones shattered instantly. He died instantly. The third madam was so frightened that she sucked in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that the old master was really angry. However, the third madam herself didn't even have time to react. Her child had died just like that. What kind of grief was this? Master, no matter what, the person who killed Xiaofei is that person, the third madam said as she hugged Qian Fei's body. She looked at her master, hoping that he would stand up and say something fair. This matter couldn't be let go so easily. This blood feud had to be avenged. Do you think that you can get away unscathed after killing a member of the Qian family? Dream on. Qian Tianding's eyes flashed fiercely. Everyone could see the dangerous glint in his eyes clearly. Even his aura was getting stronger and more dangerous. Find Zhang Baijie for me. The Hell Arena needs to give me an explanation for this matter. What was Zhang Baijie? He was just a high-level fighter in the arena. The arena's money was constantly flowing in and out. Compared to the Qian family, he was nothing. Under the Qian family's property, there were several arenas. Therefore, in Qian Tianding's eyes, Zhang Baijie was nothing. Even if the latter was a Yuan emperor, he was still extremely weak in front of the Qian family. Even the Hell Arena had to consider carefully before making an enemy out of the Qian family. With the means of the Qian family, they could easily settle the Hell Arena without shedding any blood. However, once this happened, it would involve a lot of things. Chapter 934. In the Inferno Arena. Today's Hell Arena could be said to be filled with one wave after another. Originally, when something happened in his own arena, Zhang Baijie, as the highest-ranking member, had to shoulder the responsibility and deal with it while the others were in seclusion. He checked the state of Mr. Gao's death. It could only be said that old Gao had offended someone he shouldn't have. Where did this evil lord come from? Zhang Baijiu didn't give the order to hunt down this evil lord for the time being. He only sent people to investigate this evil lord's identity and why he came to the Inferno Arena. This kid's identity was mysterious, and he was powerful. Could it be that he came to kill people? If this kid's goal was to kill the higher-ups of the Inferno Arena, then even Zhang Baijiu himself would be in danger. There weren't many traces of the fight left behind. Obviously, old Gao had used his domain, but he was still killed by this evil lord. It was said that this evil lord's most powerful weapon was his hammer, which could release powerful lightning energy. But now there weren't many lightning energy fluctuations. Obviously, evil lord had a more powerful method. This evil lord's strength is extremely terrifying. Just as Zhang Baijiu was inspecting the scene, another subordinate came to report. My lord. Bad news. Bad news. Zhang Baijiu frowned when he heard his subordinate stuttering. What's the big deal? Why are you so flustered? Could it be that there's a man-eating monster? Zhang Baijiu angrily rebuked. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the subordinate's performance. Speaking of Zhang Baijiu's potential, it was much greater than Mr. Gao's. If Zhang Baijiu continued to develop like this, it was very likely that he would become an elder of the Guardian Palace of the Inferno Arena. After that, he would become the ruler of the Inferno Arena. It wasn't easy to enter the Guardian Palace. In addition to proving one's strength, one also had to prove one's loyalty and contribution. One had to make a great contribution to the Inferno Arena to be qualified to enter such an environment. A person who was going to become the ruler of the Inferno Arena in the future, of course, had to be calm in the face of such a situation. Young Master Zhang Xiaochuan, young master, he has been beaten to death. It took a lot of courage for the person to say this. Sure enough, as soon as he said this, Zhang Baijiu's expression changed. What did you say? Zhang Baijiu directly lifted the person up and reached out to choke him. His eyes seemed to reveal a murderous glint. The strong oppressive aura made the person unable to say anything. She could only kick her legs, signaling Zhang Baijiu to put her down first. Young master died outside the Jade Pond. Zhang Xiaochuan was Zhang Baijiu's only son. He was so obsessed with cultivation that even his wife ran away with someone else. In the end, when Zhang Baijiu's cultivation reached a certain level, he killed all of them and kept his only son by his side. He wanted to do his best to protect his only child. Zhang Baijiu had basically greeted everyone in the Black Canal Royal City. Now that he had heard the news of his son's tragic death, how could he tolerate this? Lead the way. Zhang Baijiu threw the person in front of him out and ordered the people in the arena to get ready. No matter who did this, Zhang Baijiu would never let this matter slide. He would never give up until he killed the murderer. Zhang Baijiu quickly arrived in front of his son's corpse. The punishment hall of the Black Canal Royal City was responsible for sealing off the scene. The punishment hall's people were responsible for handling major cases. However, even the punishment hall's people didn't want to interfere too much with what had just happened. Judging from the scene, these people should have come prepared, but they were killed by the enemy. The way they killed the enemy was so carefree. After sending people to investigate the scene, they also felt sorry for the few people who had died. The Qian family had already greeted them and brought Qian Fei's body back. The bodies of the other people at the scene had also been wrapped in body bags. So what if he was glorious when he was alive? After he died, wasn't he still a small black bag like this, and was directly stuffed into it? The punishment hall's people recognized Zhang Xiaochuan's body and didn't touch it for the time being. Naturally, someone would come to deal with it. Soon Zhang Baijiu arrived at the scene. When he saw Zhang Xiaochuan's dead body, he was furious. He even wanted to raise the punishment hall's people up and interrogate them. However, Zhang Baijiu wouldn't do such a daring thing to openly arrest the punishment hall's people. There are witnesses who said that it was a man and a woman who did it. We are still investigating the other details. The people from the punishment hall were talking nonsense. Who knew how long it would take for these people to investigate? Therefore, Zhang Baijiu didn't take the words of the punishment hall people to heart. Lord Zhang, my master invites you. Zhang Baijiu placed Zhang Xiaochuan's body in an ice coffin and stored it in his storage ring. The people who came were from the Qian family. Zhang Baijiu knew that Qian Fei was also dead. It seemed like the Qian family had something to do with this matter. Zhang Baijiu had brought some experts from the arena with him on this trip. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of the Qian family. He even wanted to go to the Qian family and ask them clearly. The punishment hall didn't want to provoke a business tycoon like the Qian family. However, Zhang Baijiu wasn't afraid. Let's go to the Qian family. After Zhang Baijiu and the others left, the leader of the punishment hall's team sighed when he saw the aggressive manner of these people. He really didn't know who exactly was capable of such a feat. It wasn't difficult to do such a thing. 2 peak Yuan monarchs would be able to easily kill the 7 people present. However, killing Qian Fei and Zhang Xiaochuan wasn't something that anyone could do. This was something that had to be thought through carefully. The consequences weren't something that anyone could bear. However, it's fine. The punishment hall doesn't have to deal with this matter. It's just a personal grudge. Since there wasn't any injustice in this case, it was even easier to determine the nature of the matter. It was just business revenge. Breeze and Moon in. Li Zongjiu meditated for a while and studied the demonic hammer in his hand. However, he was shocked to discover that the demonic hammer could actually refine power internally and then feed it back into his body. In such a short period of time, Li Zongjiu could clearly feel that he was about to break through to the peak Yuan monarch realm. Although his mind power and physical strength had already reached this realm, Li Zongjiu's mystic qi cultivation had always remained at the Yuan monarch realm. It is indeed a demonic weapon that can make people fall into the demonic path. Li Zongjiu looked at the small black hammer in his hand. If a person had no concept of power and only had endless greed, he would definitely use the demonic hammer in his hand to kill everyone in his way. He would use it to absorb power so that he could break through and become stronger. Then, he would quickly fall into the demonic path and become a puppet of the demonic hammer, constantly killing people. However, Li Zongjiu had been at the peak of his strength in his previous life and knew how terrifying this power was. Not only could it destroy others, but it could also easily destroy himself. He wasn't greedy. Everything was under his control. However, today's matter wasn't over yet. Qian Fei, that rascal, had actually dared to bully Qi Yanran. Li Zongjiu had to teach him a lesson. Killing Qian Fei wasn't a big deal. The entire Qian family behind him was the real culprit. If Qian Fei died, a second Qian Fei would soon appear. However, if the Qian family was destroyed, the probability of another Qian family appearing was not high. After thinking about the aftermath, Li Zongjiu went downstairs directly. Chapter 935. In the Qian family's courtyard, Zhang Baijiu led his men to the Qian family's residence. The surrounding Qian family members seemed to be on guard. Although the Qian family is indeed extremely wealthy, Qian Tianding only has one life. It would be extremely easy for Zhang Baijiu to take Qian Tianding's life. Therefore, Zhang Baijiu didn't take the Qian family seriously. Although this matter wasn't done by the Qian family, it definitely had something to do with the Qian family. Family head Qian, I want you to give me an explanation for this matter. My son, why did he die with your son? Zhang Baijiu was also very aggressive. If you want an explanation, I'll give it to you. Qian Tianding didn't call Zhang Baijiu over to make an enemy out of him. Instead, he wanted to cooperate with Zhang Baijiu. If one wanted to kill someone, it would be an extremely stupid act to do it himself. Then, a servant brought Li Zongjiu's information to Qian Tianding. Although there were some difficulties, and it was extremely difficult to obtain the information, money could solve all these difficulties. Qian Tianding told Qian Tianding everything that had happened in the past few days. There was no need to hide such things. It seems like family head Qian wants to borrow my hand to get rid of this brat. Zhang Baijiu instantly understood Qian Tianding's intention. Obviously, Qian Tianding had called him over at this time and gave him the information. After all, the Qian family was a businessman. It wouldn't be good for them to have an open relationship with people who fought and killed all the time. Therefore, Zhang Baijiu also understood Qian Tianding's intention. You want revenge, and so do I. Let's work together to get rid of this brat. Just tell me what you want. Zhang Baijiu was extremely unhappy with the Qian family's attitude. However, there was no other way. They were rich. In other words, he would give Qian Tianding as much money as he wanted. However, if you can't get rid of this brat, I'll get rid of you as well. Qian Tianding looked at Zhang Baijiu, and his tone was extremely cold. This was not a warning but a guarantee. A large part of the reason for this was because Zhang Xiaochuan had led people to kill Li Zongjiu and the others without permission. Although this idea came from Qian Fei, in Qian Tianding's opinion, if Zhang Xiaochuan didn't agree with him, this situation wouldn't have happened at all. Therefore, most of the responsibility was placed on Zhang Xiaochuan. If Zhang Xiaochuan was still alive, the Qian family would never let him go. Now that Zhang Xiaochuan was dead, Zhang Baijiu must bear the consequences. Patriarch Qian, your Qian family is extremely wealthy. Although I, Zhang Baijiu, am a martial artist, I can distinguish between right and wrong. If it wasn't for your son's instigation, my Xiaochuan wouldn't have died. Zhang Baijiu wasn't someone who would lower his head for money. Zhang Baijiu, watch your tone. An primitive emperor elder of the Qian family immediately reminded him, no matter what the situation was, he couldn't be disrespectful to the patriarch of the Qian family. Even if the patriarch had really done something wrong, he still represented the face of the Qian family. Being disrespectful to the patriarch was looking down on the entire Qian family. How's my tone? Could it be that your Qian family still wants me, Zhang Baijiu, to stay here today? Zhang Baijiu said directly as he stood up. A few experts followed behind him. They were all loyal subordinates brought out from the Inferno Arena. These people who mingled in the Inferno Arena had extremely dense evil qi. When they released it slightly, the entire room seemed to be filled with a bloody evil qi. The elders of the Qian family didn't want to be outdone. This was their Qian family's mansion. If they didn't have any response after being provoked, it would be an extremely shameful act. In the future, the Qian family would no longer be able to survive. In fact, both sides were just putting on a show. They didn't have any intention of falling out with each other. If it really came to this point, it would be extremely serious for both sides. 100-step soul-piercing arrow. Qian Tianding took out a set of sleeve arrows and placed it on the table. When Zhang Baichuanzi saw the 100-step soul-piercing arrow, his pupil shrank. He then waved his hand and signaled the people behind him to calm down and not be impulsive. It wasn't the time to fall out with each other yet. This set of sleeve arrows is made of 10,000 years black iron. It was tempered by a level 5 origin inscription master. Within 100 steps, it can take the life of an origin emperor as easily as taking something out of a pocket. Qian Tianding said faintly. However, there were only 3 soul-piercing arrows. Once they were used up, there wouldn't be any left. Therefore, it was also an extremely precious consumable item. It was very difficult to buy such an item on the market. It was a weapon that could deal with origin emperors. Qian Tianding was using this item to tell Zhang Baijiu that he had plenty of items that could kill origin emperors. This is the weapon that I will provide you to kill that kid. If you succeed, it will be considered as a favor to my Qian family. I will also give you a level 6 elixir to help you break through. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. Hee, that kid won't live long even if you don't mention it. The two groups of people seemed to have reached an agreement. With a common understanding, it was much more convenient to deal with this matter. At least they knew that it was useless to blame each other now. Both of them had a common goal, which was to kill Li Zongjiu. Master, there is someone outside seeking an audience. Just when the two groups of people were discussing, a guard came forward to report with a strange expression. Who is seeking an audience? Let him wait. An elder who was close to him roared directly. At such a critical moment, didn't he see that these big shots were discussing something very important? Now he was seeking an audience? What the hell? But this person said that he killed young master. He even said that his name is Li Zongjiu. The guard was a little hesitant. Mentioning this matter at such a critical moment obviously meant that he would have to bear very serious consequences. If he was slightly careless, he would be punished by the elders or the family head. That would be too aggrieved. What did you say? As soon as the name was mentioned, the people from both sides reacted very strongly, especially Zhang Baijiu. He couldn't wait to tear Li Zongjiu into pieces. His son's body was still lying in the ice coffin in his storage ring. Boom! Just as the few of them were getting angry, they heard a thunderous sound coming from outside. It was as if there was thunder. When they heard this sound, the outside immediately quieted down. The guards at the door looked back and saw that the guards who were in charge of stopping Li Zongjiu and the others had been directly knocked down. Bang, bang, bang. A series of people fell to the ground and lost their breath. Green smoke was still rising from their bodies. They looked very tragic, as if they were struck by lightning. Sorry, I waited for a long time, so I came in myself. Li Zongjiu stood in front of the courtyard, holding a black hammer in his hand. Behind him were a series of people who appeared and were directly knocked down by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu didn't show any mercy to these people and killed them all. The power gathered on the hammer also became even more powerful. Zhang Baijiu and Qian Tianding walked out at the same time, followed by masters from all sides. You're Li Zongjiu? Zhang Baijiu stared at Li Zongjiu. When he saw the hammer in Li Zongjiu's hand, he felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before. This hammer! Li Zongjiu, you're really bold. Even if you come in person today to apologize, it won't help. None of the people from the Shengyan dynasty will go back alive. Qian Tianding sneered when he saw Li Zongjiu appear. However, Li Zongjiu didn't look like he came to apologize. I came here with sincerity. I'm here to give you a chance to get my forgiveness, Li Zongjiu said with a smile. Then, he put the hammer in his hand back on his waist. Who are you? Li Zongjiu saw Zhang Baijiu's face full of hatred, but Li Zongjiu didn't remember the person in front of him. You killed my son. When he saw his enemy, Zhang Baijiu calmed down instead. At the same time, he looked around. This brat actually dared to come to the Qian family alone. If it wasn't because of his skill and courage, then there must be a helper hiding in the dark. He had to be careful. What a coincidence. I'll give you a chance to get my forgiveness. You two, name your price now. I'll forgive whoever satisfies me. I won't pursue this matter any further. Chapter 936. When they heard Li Zongjiu's words, both of them were stunned. Both Zhang Baijiu and Qian Tianding were speechless. Could it be that Li Zongjiu had swaggered into the Qian family's courtyard just to say such words at this moment? Was there something wrong with his brain? He was already at death's door, yet he still wanted to ask for money? He must be crazy about money. Zhang Baijiu did not come to see Li Zongjiu act crazy. You killed my son, so I'll kill your entire family. Today I'll start with you. Zhang Baijiu snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying dark force gathered and turned into a sharp knife. Instantly, the knife rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Boom. However, when the dark force reached him, it was easily dispersed by Li Zongjiu. You've been eliminated. Li Zongjiu did not say anything else. He lifted the hammer in his hand and rushed towards Zhang Baijiu. Zhang Baijiu did not need to do anything himself. The guards behind him had already rushed out. Set up the killing formation. The 5 experts, who had been trained in the arena, instantly formed a killing array. They surrounded Li Zongjiu tightly. The strength of these 5 people had reached the peak of the Yuan monarch realm. Given the strength of these 5 people, they could even trap a Yuan monarch realm expert. Moreover, when the 5 of them attacked at the same time, it would give off a sense of oppression. It would not be easy to resist the blood qi that was condensed from their bodies. Boom! The 5 of them had already honed a high level of tacit understanding on the battlefield. However, when the demonic hammer in Li Zongjiu's hand fell, a chain of thunder and lightning immediately erupted and connected the 5 of them together. When Zhang Baijiu saw this scene, he immediately thought of a person. Zhang Baijiu was busy and did not personally enter the arena to watch Li Zongjiu's battle. However, he had seen Li Zongjiu's battle report. It said that this person called Evil Lord was good at using a hammer that was filled with the power of thunder and lightning. He could directly electrocute his enemies. In the arena, this person would often defeat his opponents in an instant. Thunder and lightning roared. The 5 of them were covered in thunder and lightning, directly blasting these people into pieces. Their bodies fell to the ground one by one. Although they were not all dead, they were on the verge of death. It was difficult for them to get up. "You are evil lord." Zhang Baijiu looked at Li Zongjiu with shock in his eyes. One had to know that this evil lord had just killed Old Gao last night. Old Gao's strength was on par with Zhang Baijiu's. Both of them were experts of the highest level, the 19th layer of hell. Even if Zhang Baijiu wanted to deal with Old Gao, he would need a lot of tricks. Moreover, he couldn't guarantee the success rate. Even if the 2 of them attacked together, it would be very difficult to stop Old Gao. This evil lord was able to kill Old Gao in such a short time, which showed how terrifying his strength was. It was the same thunder and lightning hammer. How could it be fake? Evil lord. Qian Tianding was close, so he naturally heard what Zhang Baijiu said. Obviously, Zhang Baijiu knew how powerful Li Zongjiu was, so when he opened his mouth, he could clearly feel that Zhang Baijiu was extremely wary of him. Even Zhang Baijiu was afraid of this person. Moreover, he had suddenly called out the name of the evil dominator. This made Qian Tianding nervous. "You're the evil lord. You're the one who killed Gao Tian." Zhang Baijiu said coldly. At this moment, the experts he brought were all dead. They were killed by Li Zongjiu in an instant. Listening to Zhang Baijiu's roar, Li Zongjiu thought that this person was really not calm. However, Li Zongjiu did not answer Zhang Baijiu's words. "You chose to give up. It's useless to beg me now." Then Li Zongjiu rushed forward. When he swung the demonic hammer in his hand, a terrifying force instantly vibrated. Boom! A domineering force swept out from the demonic hammer and directly rushed towards Zhang Baijiu. Zhang Baijiu growled as a 3-meter-long giant saber appeared in his hand. Clang! Amethyst saber. Zhang Baijiu was able to stay at the highest level of the Hell Arena. The strength he possessed was naturally not for show. In addition to the amethyst saber in his hand, Zhang Baijiu had slaughtered millions of people. His saber technique was also extremely famous. No one had been able to escape from Zhang Baijiu's slaughtering saber technique, at least not until now. This was also the reason why Zhang Baijiu rarely used this technique. Slaughtering saber. Zhang Baijiu could feel the power of thunder pouring into his body continuously. Such a domineering power was almost going to destroy Zhang Baijiu. Fortunately, the yuan energy of the primitive emperor in his body was able to suppress it. His strength was forcibly stabilized as he swung the amethyst saber in his hand, in a circle above his head. Qian Tianding and the others could feel a sharp aura scraping over their heads. If they really fought, Zhang Baijiu would not be afraid. In a head-on confrontation, the most important thing was one's aura. Once one was intimidated by one's aura, one would have already won half the battle. The amethyst saber in Zhang Baijiu's hand seemed to have received the power of heaven and earth, as it suddenly slashed towards Li Zongjiu. Boom! 100-meter-long saber aura spread directly from the courtyard to the entrance of the Qian family. It directly split the entrance of the Qian family into 2 halves. The power condensed from the saber aura along the way was even more shocking. As expected of an primitive emperor-level expert, the power left behind by the saber aura in his hand was already extremely shocking. Slightly closer, one could feel the saber aura permeating the air. Li Zongjiu only made a very simple move. After slightly leaning his body, he dodged this extremely fierce attack. If Li Zongjiu stood still, he would have been seriously injured by the slaughtering saber. It was a pity that Zhang Baijiu's movements were too slow and couldn't hit him. What was the use of being strong? You, a 2nd-grade primitive emperor, can use the saber technique of a 3rd-grade primitive emperor. That's not bad. Li Zongjiu looked at Zhang Baijiu and said lightly. Obviously, he was giving pointers to Zhang Baijiu. Being able to see Zhang Baijiu's strength at a glance. Generally speaking, to be able to see through the cultivation of others meant that their strength was above yours. Zhang Baijiu was shocked. The strength of this evil lord was indeed stronger than he had imagined. Zhang Baijiu's saber can't finish him off. The few elders of the Qian family behind Qian Tianding were secretly shocked. They had seen Li Zongjiu's strength, but they knew Zhang Baijiu's strength very well. That saber attack just now was something that even the few primitive emperors present might not be able to block without any injuries. Flying whirlwind slash. Zhang Baijiu roared once again. The purplish-green broadsword in his hand once again slashed forward. However, he did not use all of his strength on his broadsword technique this time. Instead, two cold glints immediately shot out from his left wrist. Swish! Swish! The two cold lights came menacingly, and their movements were extremely weak. As they flew, they didn't even cause the slightest ripple in the space. Boom! Li Zongjiu's demonic hammer struck down the two cold lights. As for Zhang Baijiu's saber qi, Li Zongjiu raised his hand to block it. A golden light spread over his wrist. Clang! It was as if it had struck a golden armor with terrifying defense. This was a real head-on collision. He was still unscathed. Zhang Baijiu no longer hesitated. If he continued to fight, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Years of survival experience told Zhang Baijiu that if he couldn't win, he had to run. Even primitive emperors were the same. His life was important. Compared to his reputation, he only had one life. Zhang Baijiu leaped, carrying the 3-meter-long saber, and flew away. Swish! Seeing Zhang Baijiu running away at full speed, Qian Tianding and the others were shocked. Did this person not care about his reputation? However, Zhang Baijiu didn't run far. He couldn't even get out of the Qian family's courtyard. A purple bolt of lightning descended from the sky and struck Zhang Baijiu's body. Chapter 937. Zhang Baijiu, who was about to escape, fell directly from the sky after being struck by the lightning. Then Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand, and a force wrapped around Zhang Baijiu's body and brought him back directly. When Li Zongjiu saw Zhang Baijiu's body fall to the ground, Li Zongjiu was quite surprised by the latter's miserable condition. Wow, your hammer has such a function. Obviously, Li Zongjiu had unintentionally activated some function of the devil hammer just now. So the sudden appearance of the purple lightning just now was also beyond Li Zongjiu's expectation. Even with Zhang Baijiu's cultivation, in the face of the lightning just now, he did not have the slightest resistance, and was directly blown up like a dead fish. Zhang Baijiu's body fell to the ground unconscious. This is an example. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and directly hammered Zhang Baijiu's heart into pieces. Zhang Baijiu, who was still unconscious, was directly killed by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu also very skillfully took off the storage ring from Zhang Baijiu's hand and put it away. These days, he seemed to have plundered a lot of storage rings, so Li Zongjiu also specially prepared a small bag to store these storage rings. Li Zongjiu naturally did not care about the things inside. It was nothing more than some money and the like. Only when he was free, Li Zongjiu would look through it to see if there were any small surprises. However, it was really difficult to find any treasures in the hands of these people. The real treasures would not be in the hands of these people. Now only you are left. If I am not satisfied with the price you offer, no one in your Qian family will live today. After doing all this, Li Zongjiu looked at Qian Tianding and the others. He was not afraid of Qian Tianding and the other sneak attack just now. If that was the case, Li Zongjiu would probably kill them all directly, and it would be very difficult to negotiate. Originally, Qian Tianding wanted Li Zongjiu to pay with his life. However, now it seemed that Li Zongjiu's strength was not as simple as imagined. It was not without reason that he dared to come alone. Now that Qian Tianding's son was killed, the murderer actually had the face to come in front of them and ask for compensation. If Qian Tianding compensated Li Zongjiu, it would be difficult for him to stay as the head of the family in the future. This was a dilemma, and Qian Tianding was caught in the middle. Li Zongjiu, do you really think that no one in my Qian family can stop you? Qian Tianding said coldly. He stared angrily at Li Zongjiu, and even his voice began to tremble slightly. He was really angered by Li Zongjiu. How dare he cause trouble in the Qian family in such a way? Oh, if there is someone who can stop me, just call him out. Li Zongjiu laughed and said with disdain. Then, he glanced at the Qian family members in front of him, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Some of their expressions were obviously not right. Li Zongjiu continued. Today, it was your Qian clan's patriarch who offended me. If you remove him from his position and expel him from the Qian clan, I can let bygones be bygones and forgive you for offending me. This is my request. I will give you 10 minutes to discuss. Remove the head of the Qian family. No one expected Li Zongjiu to make such a request. Qian Tianding had just established his prestige, and with the appearance of Li Zongjiu, it suffered a great blow. It seemed that as long as Qian Tianding was removed from his position, the Qian family would be considered to have avoided this crisis. If they wanted to blame someone, they should blame Qian Tianding and his family. Originally, this matter was caused by Qian Tianding's son and daughter. Now that they had come looking for him, it was obvious that he was here for them. They couldn't possibly drag the entire Qian family down with them. You could contribute to the family, but you couldn't let the family take the blame for you. The few elders in the Hall of Elders looked at each other and even began to think that this method was feasible. One should take responsibility for one's own actions. Naturally, they couldn't let Qian Tianding affect the interests of the entire family. Qian Tianding, since this matter was caused by you, the 3 elders in the Hall of Elders have unanimously decided to remove you from your position as the head of the family for the time being. To everyone's surprise, the great elder actually stood up and said this directly, and asked Qian Tianding to hand over his position as the head of the family immediately. The great elder Qian Hailong seemed to have been prepared for this. When he stood up and said this, he even said to Qian Tianding, "We have considered this matter for a long time. In addition, this matter is indeed very serious. You should temporarily hand over your position as the head of the family. After this matter passes, you can take up the position again." Qian Hailong's words were clearly bullshitting. The dignified head of the Qian family was actually going to step down because of a mere threat from a young man. If he stepped down today, he would still have the face to lead the Qian family again in the future. However, Qian Tianding and the others clearly saw what happened to Zhang Baijiu. Just like that, right in front of them, in just a few minutes he was already crippled. This showed how powerful Li Zongjiu was. If they didn't agree to Li Zongjiu's request today, it was very difficult to predict what would happen to the Qian family. For the sake of safety, even if it was just to appease Li Zongjiu, they had to do this. "Qian Hailong, are you crazy?" An elder who was on Qian Tianding's side shouted angrily when he saw the great elder Qian Hailong taking the lead to make things difficult for the head of the family. This was simply ridiculous. How could such a thing happen? How could he help an outsider to deal with the head of the family? Watch your tone. I'm the great elder of the family. Tianding, I can only inconvenience you for today's matter. We can only plan for the future after we have stabilized the enemy in front of us. Otherwise, the Qian family will definitely suffer heavy casualties today. Qian Hailong said earnestly, as if he was really thinking for the family. "Qian Hailong, are you crazy? How could you help an outsider? Are you afraid?" Another elder said agitatedly when he heard Qian Hailong's words. However, Qian Tianding raised his hand in the end. He looked at Qian Hailong and took a deep breath, as if he was fully prepared. "All right, I'll hand over the position of the head of the family," Qian Tianding said in a deep voice. Then, he handed over the handprint and thumb ring of the head of the family to the great elder Qian Hailong directly. "Li Zongjiu, if you want to play, I, Qian Tianding, will definitely play with you. You must play to the end." Qian Tianding stared at Li Zongjiu for a while, then turned around and walked away. He left behind an arrogant back view. Since he had already handed over the position of the head of the family, it would be embarrassing if he continued to stay here. Therefore, he walked out of the door directly after leaving some harsh words. Some of his subordinates seemed to want to follow Qian Tianding out, but they were all stopped by him. What did you just say?" Li Zongjiu looked in Qian Tianding's direction. Qian Tianding, who was about to step out of the door, suddenly stopped. Li Zongjiu's words were obviously directed at him. Li Zongjiu's tone was extremely unfriendly after stopping Qian Tianding. His eyes were also filled with dangerous signals. "You want to play with me?" Li Zongjiu was a person who loved it when others said harsh words. This was because those who said harsh words would often be slapped in the face by Li Zhongjie very quickly. If one was capable, one would not need to say harsh words. However, since one had said harsh words to Li Zhongjie, then Li Zhongjie naturally wanted to see how ruthless one could be. Li Zhongjie, our family head has already relinquished the position of the head of the family. What else do you want? The young elder from before also stood up and said. Obviously, he was extremely angry with Li Zhongjie's way of doing things. Li Zhongjie had repeatedly coerced them, and even in the face of the Qian family. This was clearly an insult to his family. What does this have to do with you? Li Zhongjie waved his hand casually, and a tyrannical palm strike landed on the elder's body, sending the young elder, who was a 5th-grade Yuan monarch, flying. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. My origin pearl. My origin pearl is broken. The elder shouted in horror as he knelt on the ground. Li Zhongjie, you've gone too far. When Qian Tianding saw that Li Zhongjie had actually destroyed the origin pearl of the elder who had supported him, he was immediately unable to restrain his anger and directly exploded on the spot. However, in front of Li Zhongjie, he did not have the right to explode. Boom! Li Zhongjie extended his hand, and another purple thunderbolt descended from the sky, smashing towards Qian Tianding's head. Chapter 938. When the lightning struck down on Qian Tianding. At this moment, Qian Tianding finally understood why Zhang Baijiu, with his cultivation, couldn't dodge it. Qian Tianding's cultivation was far inferior to Zhang Baijiu's. Under this lightning, he only felt that his bones were easily locked down. There was no way to break free. However, the pain came so quickly that Qian Tianding couldn't feel it at all. The purple lightning struck down. It easily broke the protective armor on Qian Tianding's body. At the same time, Qian Tianding was sent flying. When he landed on the ground, he was already charred black. At this moment, in the small dark room in the distance, Qian Liang looked through the only iron window of the small dark room and saw that his father had been struck into such a state. Immediately, his hatred for Li Zhongjie rose to the sky. I, Qian Liang, will definitely tear you into pieces. Qian Liang's eyes were crimson red. He clenched his teeth so hard that they were bleeding. This small dark room was also known as the confinement room. It had a unique array pattern inside, so Qian Liang couldn't walk out at all. He could only watch his father being struck to death by Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjie killed Qian Tianding. His expression didn't change at all. This was the head of the Qian family. If the news of him killing Qian Tianding in front of the Qian family spread out, he would be proud. However, Li Zhongjie didn't seem to be excited at all. Killing such a trash wasn't something to be proud of for Li Zhongjie. If this guy's blood stained his body, Li Zhongjie's mood would probably fluctuate even more. Many of the elders of the Qian family couldn't believe that Li Zhongjie had actually dared to kill Qian Tianding in front of them. This was no longer as simple as coming to provoke them. This was a direct slap in the face. Since ancient times, no one has dared to be so arrogant. Some people were so angry that they clenched their fists and wanted to seek justice from Li Zhongjie. However, they didn't have the courage to take a step forward. Qian Tianding's body fell to the ground. Qian Hailong felt a trace of pride in his heart, but on the surface, he had to pretend to be extremely furious. However, when he thought about how Qian Tianding was killed by Li Zhongjie because of his words, Qian Hailong didn't dare to talk nonsense in front of Li Zhongjie anymore. Take Tianding away for treatment. Quick! Qian Hailong said. Treatment? It was already so dark. What was there to save? It was just a formality. At least with a little effort, there might still be a glimmer of hope. With a flick of his finger, Li Zhongjie shot towards the side. Boom! The small dark room where Qian Liang was locked was blasted into pieces. Qian Liang's figure was also exposed under the sunlight. If you have the ability, you're welcome to take revenge anytime. Today's matter ends here. If there's anything else, I, Li Zhongjie, will definitely exterminate your Qian family. After saying that, Li Zhongjie left the Qian family's courtyard directly. After Qian Liang was glanced at by Li Zhongjie, he felt like he was about to collapse. His whole body slumped to the ground, and his legs kept trembling. This was Qian Liang's legs trembling. It wasn't what Qian Liang wanted. This was a kind of fear that came from the depths of his heart. Revenge? In the face of such a godlike existence, how could he take revenge? He was just digging his own grave. Qian Hailong looked at Li Zongjiu's figure as he left. Li Zongjiu's words just now made the Qian family feel helpless. He was so arrogant. What could they do? Or rather, what could they do? Could it be that they had to rush up and fight with Li Zongjiu to make him take back his words? It was obvious from Qian Liang's frightened look. No matter what, Li Zongjiu left in the end. The massacre in the morning had truly shocked the Qian clan. They couldn't imagine that such a massacre would happen in the Qian family's courtyard. This time, the great elder and the others didn't confront Li Zongjiu directly. They even chose to endure and retreat. Of course, it was very embarrassing, but at least they saved the lives of most of the Qian family. There were more than 20 guards who were killed by Li Zongjiu's lightning. These were all fresh lives. Qian Hailong presided over a family meeting. In this family meeting, these matters would be discussed specifically. At the same time, more than half of the elders supported Qian Hailong to be the temporary patriarch of the Qian family. Although he was only the temporary head of the family, there wasn't much of a difference in this aspect. Qian Hailong himself enjoyed a very high status and power in this family. Now he could use the spring of the patriarch of the family legitimately. All this was thanks to Li Zongjiu. Although Qian Hailong had suffered great humiliation this time, Qian Hailong knew that as long as he didn't provoke Li Zongjiu, nothing would happen to him. After studying Li Zongjiu's various deeds, Qian Hailong knew that as long as he didn't provoke Li Zongjiu, nothing would happen. Great Elder, Patriarch, our people found that Li Zongjiu is very likely to be the mysterious master nicknamed Evil Lord in the Hell Arena. It is said that this person's strength is very strong. Now in the Hell Arena, he has won 13 consecutive victories and 0 losses. Someone found some information about Li Zongjiu. He reported it. Last night, Evil Lord killed Gao Tian, who is also Mr. Gao, in the reception room. Qian Hailong was very satisfied with these people's change of words. The Qian family hadn't suffered many losses, only a few people had died. Under such circumstances, it was simply too unexpected for him to take over. This outcome made Qian Hailong very happy. This kid killed 2 of the Hell Arena's higher-ups in a row. It seems like we don't have to do anything. The Hell Arena's guardian palace naturally can't help but take care of Li Zongjiu. Calm down first. Also, you must pay attention to Qian Xiaojia. If Qian Xiaojia finds out about his father, he will definitely not be able to hold himself back. If you find Qian Xiaojia, bring him back immediately. Yes, Patriarch. Qian Xiaojia was Qian Tianding's eldest son. Qian Liang was actually the second son, so Qian Fei was the third princess. However, Qian Xiaojia was a little special. His mother didn't have any status, but his cultivation talent was extremely outstanding. At the same time, he didn't like the atmosphere in the family. Originally, Qian Tianding wanted to nurture Qian Xiaojia as the next patriarch, but Qian Xiaojia liked to wander the world. At this moment, no one knew where he was. The main reason why Qian Hailong said that he would suppress Qian Xiaojia was because he was afraid that Qian Xiaojia would be a threat to his newly snatched patriarch position after returning safely. Yes, Patriarch. Li Zongjiu returned to the Breeze and Moon Inn. Although Li Zongjiu had originally planned to kill all these people, considering that he had come here with the name of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, he did not want to bring shame to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After returning, it would be difficult to explain to Su Hong. It wasn't easy for him to come out. But in the end, such a thing happened. He would definitely be blamed. Since he could achieve the same effect by killing a few people, why not? The reason why he killed Qian Tianding was because Li Zongjiu had long seen that there was a great elder who was ready to make a move. It seemed that he wanted to usurp the throne. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's actions were enough to make the Qian family busy. When he returned to the Shengyan dynasty, there wouldn't be so much trouble. When he returned to the Breeze and Moon Inn, Li Zongjiu happened to be carrying a bag of buns in his hand. Just then, he saw a figure walking down the stairs. It was the masked woman from the Tianyan dynasty, Lin Lin. The two of them almost brushed past each other on the stairs. Lin Lin glanced at Li Zongjiu, but Li Zongjiu didn't look at Lin Lin. What a dense baleful aura. Lin Lin wrinkled her nose. Li Zongjiu knocked on Qi Yinran's door. At this moment, Qi Yinran had already adjusted her condition. When she heard the knocking sound, she also sensed that Li Zongjiu had arrived. Come in. Chapter 939. I bought you steamed buns and osmanthus cake. Li Zongjiu handed the food to Qi Yinran. Qi Yinran's face was full of surprise. She never thought that Li Zongjiu would do such a thing. In Qi Yinran's view, Li Zongjiu's character was very heroic, and also very chauvinistic. She never thought that he would be so considerate. Early in the morning, he bought her the osmanthus cake that was the most difficult to digest. You, who eats osmanthus cake in the morning? Qi Yinran suddenly laughed, but still picked up a piece and tasted it. Seeing the steaming steamed buns, she remembered that she, Li Zongjiu, and Kuan Erishur were eating delicious steamed buns with the smell of meat juice. Did all boys like to eat these steamed buns? What's wrong with you? When Qi Yinran lowered her head to eat, she saw some bloodstains on Li Zongjiu's sleeves. And looking at the style, it seemed to have just been stained. Nothing. I went to the Qian family and dealt with the aftermath. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Qi Yinran knew about Li Zongjiu's past achievements. Back in the Sacred Flame Imperial City, Qi Yinran investigated some of the things that the Yi family did. She knew that the entire Yi family was destroyed by Li Zongjiu. You can't be. Qi Yinran immediately looked at Li Zongjiu in shock, the look of horror in her eyes. Li Zongjiu knew what this girl was thinking. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I just warned them, and helped them change the family head. Li Zongjiu said very calmly. Qi Yinran heard Li Zongjiu's words. Although Li Zongjiu said it very casually, if Qi Yinran didn't hear it wrong, Li Zongjiu directly changed the patriarch of the Qian family. The status of the Qian family in the Heike dynasty was not simple. Li Zongjiu was able to go alone and escape unscathed. Obviously, it took a lot of effort for the Qian family to make such a big change and give them a warning. Next time, I'll accompany you on such a dangerous mission, Qi Yinran said softly. The two should have confirmed their relationship, and Qi Yinran also knew that people like Li Zongjiu would do big things. Even Li Zongjiu was not born to live a simple life. For such a person, there was no way to restrict him from doing anything. The only way was to follow him and support him. This was what Qi Yinran thought. All right, Li Zongjiu said. Then Li Zongjiu also stood up. He seemed to feel that the realm in his body was loosening. On top of that, the demonic hammer was constantly guiding the power back into his body. He was about to break through. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion, Li Zongjiu said. Qi Yinran saw Li Zongjiu's slightly dignified expression and nodded. There's an underground training room in the Wind and Moon Inn. It's specially prepared. Obviously, Qi Yinran was more familiar with these things. There was no such facility in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. However, in the Heike dynasty, such facilities were very normal. This was because the cultivation atmosphere in the Heike dynasty was much more competitive than the Xingyan dynasty. Underground training room. There was also an Yuan rune array inside that could help to gather Yuan Qi. Of course, it was a chargeable item. However, this place had been reserved by the Haiku Pill Palace. Hence, they could use it as they wished. All the expenses would be charged to the Haiku Pill Palace's account. They were already so rich. Just a few training rooms wouldn't cost them much money. Qi Yinran asked for the best secret training room for Li Zongjiu. You want a secret training room? I'll give you my top-notch room. Wan Xiaodai met the two of them and said generously. Compared to the Heike dynasty's atmosphere, Wan Xiaodai preferred these people from the Xingyan dynasty. At least, they were straightforward and domineering. Thank you, Miss Wan, Qi Yinran said. Li Zongjiu also cupped his hands towards Wan Xiaodai. If you need anything in the future, why would I need anything? This is the key. Just go in directly. Wan Xiaodai said as she gave a delicate key to Li Zongjiu. Then she turned around and left. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran looked at each other. This girl had the demeanor of a heroine. I'm going, Li Zongjiu said to Qi Yinran. Qi Yinran lowered her head and didn't say anything. Then, she suddenly tiptoed and gently touched Li Zongjiu's lips. Then she turned around and walked away quickly. With Li Zhongjiu's strength, it was naturally easy for him to avoid Qi Yinran's sneak attack. However, since she had already made the first move, Li Zhongjiu couldn't be blamed. He reached out and grabbed Qi Yinran, who was trying to escape. He gave her a fierce peck. Then, he let the shy Qi Yinran leave. It's good to be young. Li Zhongjiu clenched his fist. With the improvement of his strength, more and more dangers were approaching. Of course, this had something to do with Li Zhongjiu's way of doing things. After all, he had reached the level of evil lord in his previous life. With such strength, there was nothing wrong with such a temper. Since he had decided to be with Qi Yinran, of course, he had to protect her. At the same time, he had to improve the level of the Qi family. Li Zhongjiu had already made a rough calculation in his heart. It was very difficult for the Qi family to control the mineral veins. Now the Qi family was basically riding a tiger and unable to get off. Under the countless competition and pressure from the Xingyan dynasty, they had to obtain certain benefits and convenience. Originally, the Qi family would gradually decline under the rebellion of the Qingyuan villa. However, Li Zhongjiu's appearance had blocked the first disaster. What problems would they encounter later? Even Li Zhongjiu himself didn't know. Therefore, he had to prepare a strong force. Li Zhongjiu entered a state of closed-door training. The people of the Qian family didn't dare to act rashly for the time being. Even if they wanted to take action, they wouldn't act so quickly. After all, Qian Hailong had just been promoted and needed to stabilize his position. In the Inferno arena, losing 2 high-level experts in one day was a great loss, and a great threat to the Inferno arena. Losing 2 high-level experts meant that none of the high-level experts were a match for this person. If the other party intended to attack, even if the Inferno arena was prepared, it would be very easy to eliminate them. Because the enemy was too strong. Therefore, the Inferno arena was temporarily in a state of biding their time. However, the audience of the Inferno arena was very eager to see Evil Lord appear again. Some people even began to pre-sell a match. That was whether Evil Lord could pass through the 18th floor and reach the highest level of the Inferno arena. Of course, this kind of pre-sale bet was still an unknown. The risk factor was extremely high. Although the return was high, there were very few people who dared to buy it. No one's money came from the wind. Even a strong storm would have a calm time. Nan Peixian, who was seriously ill for 3 days, finally recovered. That night, Su Sha also called everyone for a meeting. She described the things that they needed to pay attention to for tomorrow's competition. Because in addition to tomorrow's competition, the most important semifinals and finals had some changes. I just received the latest news from the competition's organizing committee. The format of the finals will be adjusted to a certain extent. The location of the competition will not be in the city. Su Sha held a document in her hand and walked in front of everyone. After counting carefully, she found that Li Zhongjiu wasn't there. Where's Li Zhongjiu? Su Sha looked at Kuan Erisher. Because Kuan Erisher was the one who had the best relationship with Li Zhongjiu. However, Kuan Erisher couldn't answer this question and looked at Ling Yan. Where's my boss? Last night, Ling Yan stayed in Li Zhongjiu's room all the time. So of course this question had to be asked to Ling Yan. How would I know? Because Ling Yan stayed in Li Zhongjiu's room all the time. Naturally, what happened was self-evident. So, everyone looked at Ling Yan. However, Ling Yan couldn't answer this question. She didn't see Li Zhongjiu all night. He's in the underground practice room preparing to break through. Just when everyone shook their heads and didn't know, Qi Yinran said. While speaking, she was a little proud in her heart. Because these people in front of her didn't know where Li Zhongjiu went, only she knew. Of course, she was just secretly happy in her heart. Kuan Arashi's pair of sharp eyes immediately looked at Qi Yinran. Oh, when will my boss break through? Even I don't know. As she spoke, she looked at Qi Yinran with a malicious expression. Chapter 940. Ling Yan also glanced at Qi Yinran suspiciously. She was in Li Zhongjiu's room the whole night. She knew that Li Zhongjiu was not in the room, and Qi Yinran knew Li Zhongjiu's movements. Could it be that Li Zhongjiu stayed with Qi Yinran the whole night? During the day, Li Zhongjiu came back for a while, and then disappeared. Ling Yin couldn't figure out the specifics, but there must be something fishy between the two. Lan Kuan instantly sensed the jealousy of a few of the girls in the group. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Boss was indeed the boss. But now it seemed that Qi Yinran's position as the sister-in-law would not change. Fortunately, he was on the same side with Qi Yinran from the beginning. After all, Kuan Erishur had already seen the feelings between the two. But the boss seemed to be more secretive in this aspect. That was why it was delayed until now. If the boss could be more straightforward, why would he wait until now? He would probably have already done it with Qi Yinran. Nan Peixian, who had recovered with great difficulty, was now sitting together with everyone. The matter of him being thrown out by Lan Kuan wasn't mentioned by anyone. However, when Nan Peixian saw Lan Kuan, he became well-behaved. The person in front of him would really make a move and directly throw him out of the window. How could this person be so impolite? At the same time, he knew that Xie Wanji had replaced his position. However, since Nan Peixian had already recovered, after much consideration, he returned to his position as the main player. For Xie Wanji, this was also a good thing. At least she didn't have to face so much pressure. If it happened again, Xie Wanji didn't know if she could withstand it. After experiencing it once, it was enough. Li Zhongjiu naturally played in the semifinals, but the venue of the finals changed. So far, it was only known that it was a volcanic crater. Su Sha hadn't known the specific situation yet, but the way the game was played was that the official players would participate together. Obviously, it was a team battle. This took into account the combined strength of the three teams. Clearly, this was a huge blow to the Shengyan dynasty. Tomorrow, Sister Lingyan will be fighting against Lin Lin from Tianyan dynasty and Jin Wenfeng from Black River Pill Palace. Lingyan was also extremely excited in his heart. Now that his meridians and cultivation had recovered, Lingyan's heart was filled with excitement. His strength had increased by at least 30%. But it was clear that these two enemies were not easy to deal with either. Jin Wenfeng alone was already troublesome enough. It was said that Jin Wenfeng was a talent nurtured by the Black River Pill Hall. In the future, he would be the pillar of the Black River Pill Hall. Therefore, many things were handed over to Jin Wenfeng. Many people would say that they had to cultivate and deal with so many things, so it was natural that their cultivation was affected, or that they didn't do a good job. However, Jin Wenfeng handled everything beautifully, and his cultivation was also at a level that others could only look up to. If the Ancient One had still been around before the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, he might have been able to contend with Jin Wenfeng. Su Sha thought in her heart. There was no doubt that Ling Yin was weaker than these two. However, if the Ancient One had not offended Li Zhongjiu and was still alive, he would have been able to bring hope to the Shengyan dynasty. After all, the Ancient One's strength was not bad, but it was a pity that he had died. Who asked him to offend Li Zhongjiu? On the second day of the competition, Li Zhongjiu did not appear. During this time, Qi Yinran asked Wan Xiaodai to help take care of the situation. She went to the hall to witness this difficult competition. However, Ling Yan's performance at this venue was unexpected. His performance was extremely outstanding. The first match was between Lin Lin and Jin Wenfeng. In the end, Jin Wenfeng won by a small margin and defeated Lin Lin. In the second match, Jin Wenfeng and Ling Yan fought. He was actually defeated by Ling Yan. This battle was the most intense one since the beginning of the competition. Both Ling Yan and Jin Wenfeng used all their techniques. In the entire venue, the two of them could be seen fighting. Ling Yan's flames were both hard and soft. It was extremely domineering. On the other hand, Jin Wenfeng's flames were more nimble and flexible. His body was nimble enough, and he had an elegant demeanor. In the end, Ling Yan won by a fluke, but he used all his strength. In the next match with Lin Lin, he chose to forfeit. Everyone won one match and lost one match. Their points did not increase or decrease. However, after today's competition, the audience felt the perseverance and potential of the people from the Shengyan dynasty. When they saw Ling Yan using all his strength in the arena, Chu Tairan and Zhou Zheng were extremely excited. In the end, Ling Yan collapsed and no longer had the strength to fight. However, no one blamed Ling Yan. because Ling Yan actually defeated Jin Wenfeng. This caused many people from the Haika dynasty to be in disbelief. Without the Longxian taking action, Jin Wenfeng was basically the representative of the young generation of the Black River Pill Hall. As for the Longxian's training direction was the same as Jin Wenfeng's. One was in front of the scenes, the other was behind the scenes. The Longxian would be the guardian of the Black River Pill Hall in the future. Jin Wenfeng was the official leader of the Black River Pill Hall. In the end, he was defeated by a young girl from the Xingyan dynasty, who came from nowhere. Ling Yan and Qi Yinran's perseverance and hidden ruthlessness in the arena were also shocking. Although Lin Lin won one match, she was obviously not very happy. That Ling Yan was just lucky. Coincidentally, his primordial fire could restrain Jin Wenfeng. In addition, Jin Wenfeng was a little careless. You don't have to worry about it, Mu Qingyo said. If it was an ordinary person, it would have nothing to do with him if they lost. However, Lin Lin's identity was different. The relationship between the two of them was also quite close. Hence, this time, he also expressed his concern. Lin Lin faintly shook her head. If I were to fight with her, I would only have a 50% chance of winning. You have to be careful in tomorrow's battle. That Li Zhongjiu is not simple. Lin Lin was not affected. Instead, she was very clear about her opponent's understanding and judgment. He would definitely not deliberately belittle his opponent, or use luck as an excuse to make himself feel more at ease. You must give your opponent the same respect in order to put yourself in the right position, and not be blindly confident. I will, Mu Qingyo said. However, his eyes were filled with strong confidence. When Lin Lin saw Mu Qingyo's eyes, she knew that he did not put Li Zhongjiu in his eyes. Or rather, he never looked at Li Zhongjiu seriously. In Mu Qingyo's eyes, there was only his opponent Longxian. Even this Longxian might not be his opponent. For many years, although Longxian and Mu Qingyo were in two different empires, they knew each other very well. Because of this situation, even though the two of them had already reached the peak, they still couldn't slow down. This was because there was another person on the opposite mountain, staring at their position. One day, the two of them would definitely fight. At that time, who would fall from this mountain peak? It would depend on who was more capable. The order of tomorrow's battle had also been arranged. The Shengyan dynasty would be the first to fight the Haika dynasty. The second battle, the Shengyan dynasty would fight the Tianyin dynasty. The third battle, the Tianyin dynasty would fight the Haika dynasty. Obviously, the battle between the Haika dynasty and the Tianyin dynasty was what everyone was looking forward to. It was the final battle of the semi-finals. In other words, the final battle was a team battle. The real battle of the individual peak would be in the final battle tomorrow. As for the Shengyan dynasty, they were just cannon fodder. The second day, on the day of the semi-finals, Qi Yinran was waiting in the inn. The rest of the people had already gone to the venue. There was less than an hour before the start of the battle, but the problem was that Li Zhongjiu had not come out yet. There were still 10 minutes before the start of the battle. Longxian was already waiting in the arena. On the other hand, the Shengyan dynasty's side did not even have everyone present. I think that brat with a mouth full of firecrackers is probably hiding in some outhouse and pretending to have a stomachache. Yahu laughed and said, at the crucial moment of the battle, who would have thought that Li Zhongjiu would have stage fright? Su Sha and the others were also anxious, like ants on a hot pan. Who knew how long Li Zhongjiu would be in seclusion? Mu Qingyo of the Tianyin dynasty did not care whether Li Zhongjiu would come or not. He had already adjusted his battle strength to the peak, and was ready to start a fierce battle at any time. He had cultivated for so long just for this battle. 1 minute before the start of the battle. Finally, two figures slowly appeared at the entrance, as if they were deliberately making fun of these people. Fuck, this old man is going to have a heart attack. Chu Tairan wiped the cold sweat from his palms again and again. Finally, he saw Li Zhongjiu appear. Only then did he feel relieved. Chapter 941. Sure enough, sister-in-law is the best. Kuan Erishur saw Qi Yinran coming over, and immediately flattered her. If she still couldn't tell, Kuan Erasure might as well dig out his eyes. Okay, Sister Yanran, when did it happen? Tell me. Ling Yan also joined in. Xia Wanji and the others also started talking at the same time. When the two of them walked in hand, they attracted everyone's attention. Even if they wanted to show off, this kind of method was really too showy, right? It was the day before yesterday. Qi Yanran, who had always been cold and aloof, actually showed the attitude of a little girl at this moment. The rest of the people who saw it also exclaimed in disbelief. It was really shocking. What a good Li Zongjio. Without saying anything, he secretly made a move. Obviously, the people of the Shengyan dynasty were concerned about the gossip of Li Zongjio and Qi Yanran, so they were not concerned about this competition. This showed how powerful Li Zongjio was in their hearts. There was nothing to say. If Li Zongjio didn't win quickly enough, it was Li Zongjio who went easy on him. You're finally here. Long Xian glanced at Li Zongjio. Last time, Li Zongjio insulted their holy temples, which made Long Xian very dissatisfied with Li Zongjio. Now, at this critical moment of the competition, Li Zongjio left him here and earned the attention of others. This kind of claptrap was played very well by Li Zongjio. Therefore, in Long Xian's heart, he was very unhappy. He didn't have much ability, but he liked to play these tricks, which made people feel very uncomfortable. What's the hurry? Say it, what's the competition? Li Zongjio glanced at Long Xian and ignored the latter's provocative gaze. He did not place him in his eyes, and instead looked at the referee elder. Obviously, even now, Li Zongjio still didn't know the content of the competition. Crap, he definitely didn't read the competition manual, so he doesn't even know what the competition is. Su Sha immediately slapped her forehead. She knew that this guy would cause trouble easily. This round was also a competition of alchemy, but the method of alchemy was different. Instead, you needed to be in the opponent's cauldron to refine the pill. Therefore, while you were refining the pill, you also needed to control the opponent's flame. The other party is refining pills in your cauldron. Therefore, you also need to bring a certain amount of resistance to the other party. Under these extremely harsh conditions, you have to complete the refinement of the pill. Only then will it be considered a victory. It was equivalent to competing in two categories. One was to control the fire, and the other was to refine pills. The referee elder's face darkened as he explained to Li Zongjio the content of refining pills. At this moment, the audience was already roaring with laughter. Li Zongjio's performance made him look like a complete novice in alchemy. Who would have thought that the Shengyan dynasty was only at this level? The 100,000 spectator seats were already full. Everyone was sitting there, watching the competition below. It seems that the Shengyan dynasty doesn't plan to win at all. This kid is too funny. Not only is he late, but he doesn't even know what the competition is. I think this guy is just here to be a bystander. Hey, is this venue selling soy sauce? Get out of here. A figure was directly thrown into the safety passage and fell heavily to the ground. You don't say. This kid looks a little familiar. This kind of common face is not as handsome as me. What's so strange about him looking familiar? Some people looked at Li Zongjio and felt that he looked familiar. However, some people thought that Li Zongjio was simply ugly. No, he doesn't look familiar. He looks very familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. They clearly felt that they had seen him somewhere before, but they just couldn't remember where. Now it's clear, the referee elder said. Not putting the competition in his eyes meant that he didn't put the competition's organizing committee in his eyes and look down on them. Therefore, in a while, he would be carefully watching Li Zongjio to see if Li Zongjio cheated or not. Got it. Li Zongjio nodded. Now the competition begins. Both contestants, place your cauldrons in the white area. The referee took a step back and said. Long Xian didn't hold back at all. He immediately took out a golden cauldron with a dragon pattern from his storage ring. The light of the great path shone brightly. A tyrannical aura immediately swept out. It surged forward, as if the entire venue was filled with a golden light. A breeze blew over the cauldron, and a dragon's roar immediately came out. Just by making a move, the aura had already shocked the whole audience. Long Xian's dragon pattern golden cauldron was the top craftsmanship of the Haika dynasty. In the entire Heike dynasty, there were only a few cauldrons that could surpass the dragon pattern golden cauldron. Even if an expert at the peak of the primitive emperor realm attacked this cauldron, he wouldn't be able to cause any damage. This was the strength of the dragon pattern golden cauldron. All the spectators present were attracted by Long Xian's medicinal cauldron. They didn't even care when Li Zongjio placed a pitch-black medicinal cauldron on the stage. In comparison, this aura had already revealed everything. Can we start? And can you not flash your light? Li Zongjio found a hammer from somewhere and knocked on Long Xian's dragon pattern golden cauldron, making a clanging sound. When Long Xian saw that Li Zongjio was knocking his cauldron like a gong, he was immediately furious. How dare you insult my cauldron? Are you here to sell your cauldron or what? Li Zongjio's indifferent reply made Long Xian almost explode. He glanced at Li Zongjio's black and small cauldron. Although he didn't say anything, his eyes were filled with disdain. Both sides are in position. Let the competition begin. The competition that everyone was looking forward to finally began. The two of them took their seats. Beside each of them was a set of medicinal ingredients. After a brief glance, Li Zongjio could tell that this was a 6th grade elixir, the Heavenly Dragon Elixir. The danger of refining this elixir was the small bottle of dragon's blood. Even if one had only learned about it, without real practice, the effect of the dragon's blood, after adding it into the cauldron, would definitely make one panic. This was because the dragon's blood was violent in nature. Once it was added, the temperature of the entire cauldron would soar 100 times in an instant. Without enough experience and battle experience, the cauldron would explode in an instant. As for the other medicinal ingredients, if half of the refinement was done, the dragon's blood must be added in. Otherwise, it would be impossible to complete the most basic fusion of the elixir, and the judge would immediately declare that one had failed. Hence, if one wanted to win, he must defeat his opponent before the medicinal ingredients were half refined. Otherwise, once the dragon's blood fell into the cauldron, it would be the end of the competition. However, looking at Long Xian's calm appearance, he wasn't anxious at all. He seemed to have a card up his sleeve. He had tried to refine the Heavenly Dragon Elixir before. Dragon's blood was an extremely precious material that ordinary people couldn't come into contact with. However, although his Black River Pill Hall didn't dare to say that they had everything, it wasn't strange for them to have a small stock. Long Xian probably didn't know Li Zongjio was someone who had killed the Dragon Clan's supreme being. Chapter 942. In fact, Long Xian did not know what elixir he was going to refine before the competition started. However, he was relieved when he saw that it was the Sky Dragon elixir that he had tried before. Winning was a must. However, Long Xian could not be careless. No matter what the situation was, the only real enemy was himself. Facing Li Zongjio, although he was confident in his victory, as an alchemist, the pill in his hand must be successfully refined. Otherwise, if he ended up like Li Zongjio, causing his furnace to explode in the end, wouldn't it be equally shameful? The only difference was that he managed to last a little longer. In Long Xian's opinion, this was definitely not a victory. When Li Zongjio's obsidian fire poured into the dragon vein golden body cauldron, Long Xian looked at Li Zongjio in surprise. This was because Li Zongjio's fierce flame was extremely powerful. For him, such strength was not weak at all. He had underestimated Li Zongjio previously. Your flame is not bad. Long Xian felt like he was giving pointers to a junior. Then, he raised his hand and poured his flame into the Azura cauldron. Over the past few days, Li Zongjio had lost count of how many experts he had killed. The blood energy of the people Li Zongjio killed would fuse with his blood soul hell. Li Zongjio had recently placed the blood shura in the blood soul hell to cultivate. The blood shura had become stronger, which meant that the Azura cauldron had become stronger as well. At first, the Azura cauldron was just a dusty pearl. However, in Li Zongjio's hands, the dust had completely dispersed. At the same time, the pearl's brilliance had been maximized. The strength of the Azura cauldron was that it could continuously evolve and become stronger. At least for now, Li Zongjio had not discovered the upper limit of the Azura cauldron. Boom! Long Xian poured in a stream of elemental fire. Like Li Zongjiu, it was also subdued. As for its name, Li Zongjiu was not a know-it-all and did not know. And Li Zongjiu didn't care at all. The obsidian fire circled around the dragon vein golden body cauldron, and immediately engulfed Long Xian's flames. After that, Li Zongjiu directed his mental strength, and poured the dragon blood into the cauldron. What? Is this guy crazy? He actually wanted to extract the power of the dragon blood from the very beginning. The bottle seemed to be full, but in reality, it was only half a drop of dragon blood. You people are really stingy. Dragon's blood isn't anything special, and you only gave half a drop. Li Zongjiu directly poured half a drop of dragon blood into the golden dragon pattern body cauldron. In an instant, it was as if a volcano had been ignited on the golden dragon pattern cauldron. The terrifying explosive force almost filled the entire cauldron. Although they were separated by a cauldron, everyone could feel the terrifying fluctuations coming from the cauldron. They were shocked and could not help but feel nervous about such a situation. Several experts from the competition's organizing committee also stood around the arena. If the power of the dragon blood was not controlled, it would be no joke. It could instantly raise half of the arena to the ground. At that time, there would be countless deaths and injuries. However, Li Zongjiu's strength was not just for show. That day, when he was multitasking and used the fire cauldron to refine pills, it was already shocking enough. It showed that he had such strength. Immediately this force gathered. Go! Li Zongjiu's palm suddenly slapped the dragon vein golden body cauldron 7 times in a row. Every time he slapped, a stream of obsidian fire would turn into a fire circle and suppress the power of the dragon blood. Boom! When the last stream of obsidian fire merged into the cauldron, a ferocious force immediately erupted. Long Xian was suddenly shocked when he felt that his opponent's strength had become stronger. He had already reduced his yuan fire to the lowest level, and even hid in a corner to prevent himself from being hurt by the next collision. However, Li Zongjiu still gave Long Xian a heavy blow. Buzz! Long Xian's yuan fire was actually forced out of the golden dragon pattern cauldron by Li Zongjiu's strength. He was actually able to force the yuan fire out. Long Xian's face was suddenly filled with shock. A backlash force quickly came from within his body. This was originally an alchemy competition, but it was also a battle of offense and defense. Obviously, Li Zongjiu had taken the lead to attack his opponent's defense. Long Xian could not believe that Li Zongjiu was able to control the dragon blood and force him out of the cauldron. It was truly terrifying. At the same time, a scorching pain came from his arm, causing Long Xian's heart to be completely shaken. The golden dragon pattern cauldron was already filled with Li Zongjiu's strength. It was already very difficult to force the yuan fire in. Damn it! Long Xian immediately calmed himself down. Under such circumstances, it was extremely good to be able to calm himself down. He quickly changed his direction and attacked Li Zongjiu's Azura cauldron with all his strength. What? Just as Long Xian was about to attack Li Zongjiu with all his strength, he suddenly realized that the strength in his body was constantly being refined by Li Zongjiu's Azura cauldron. You can actually refine my yuan fire, Long Xian exclaimed. Immediately, he was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. He continuously sent out a stream of energy into the Azura cauldron in front of him, but it was all easily refined by Li Zongjiu. The energy that poured in instantly disappeared. If you continue to send out energy, your cultivation will fall, Li Zongjiu said faintly as he looked at Long Xian opposite him. On the other hand, he was also making use of the berserk power of the dragon blood to quickly refine the other medicinal ingredients. The elixir pill took shape in the cauldron and even emitted a fragrance that permeated the air. Long Xian also stared at Li Zongjiu with a grave expression. He did not believe a single word that Li Zongjiu said. Are you trying to scare me? If he were to withdraw just like that, it would be a great insult to Long Xian. Long Xian was a genius. How could he give up just because of a mere sentence from a brat? Long Xian did not believe in heresy. He also directly sent out the energy in his body, wanting to take advantage of the situation and force Li Zongjiu's obsidian fire out of the Azura cauldron. However, no matter how hard Long Xian tried, even if he used his own yuan qi cultivation, there was still no effect. I didn't expect Long Xian to be an 8th grade yuan king. Everyone from Black River Pill Hall was envious when they saw Long Xian's exposed cultivation. It would be great if they could also have such a cultivation one day. On the other hand, Mu Qingniu from Sky Flame Pill Prefecture frowned as he looked at Long Xian. The situation is not good, Mu Qingniu said softly. Lin Lin glanced at Mu Qingniu and looked at the battle in front of her in confusion. Chu Tairan was extremely nervous. Although he knew that Li Zongjie would definitely win, who knew what would happen? Looking at the relaxed look on Long Xian's face, and the fact that he had already released his aura, he seemed to have suppressed Li Zongjie. Li Zongjie was still not willing to make a move. It really made Chu Tai ran on tenterhooks. In fact, Long Xian was already regretting it. Li Zongjie was right. All the energy had been easily refined by Li Zongjie. What kind of monster was sitting opposite him? You. Who are you? Long Xian looked at Li Zongjie with difficulty. At this moment, it was extremely difficult for him to retract his energy. There was no way to retract his energy. If he tried to forcefully retract his energy, he would be blasted away by Li Zongjie. Then let's fight to the death. Long Xian used his mind power to grab the dragon blood and threw it into Li Zongjie's cauldron. Obviously, he did not intend to refine this elixir. Therefore, he might as well go all out against Li Zongjie. Boom! The dragon blood poured into Li Zongjie's Azura cauldron. Li Zongjie suddenly laughed. This was the reason why Li Zongjie had not asked Long Xian to get off the stage. It was because Li Zongjie could not use the other party's materials. He could only wait for the other party to obediently let the materials in. The dragon blood directly caused the flames in the cauldron to explode. It was extremely fierce. However, the power of the dragon blood was directly absorbed by the blood Azura and stored in the blood soul hell. Although Li Zongjie had killed the dragon clan's sovereign in his previous life, he had not reached the level where he could kill the dragon clan's sovereign in this life. Therefore, dragon blood was still considered precious. Li Zongjie certainly would not waste this opportunity. If Long Xian admitted defeat, wouldn't it be a waste of half a drop of dragon blood? Go down. After obtaining the dragon blood, there was no need to keep Long Xian alive. A surge of energy shot out from the obsidian flame, causing Long Xian to be blasted off the stage. Boom! Long Xian did not have the slightest strength to fight back. His whole body smashed below the stage. At this moment, the dragon pattern golden body cauldron in his hand was filled with a pill fragrance. A 6th grade elixir, the heavenly dragon elixir. Above the hall, dark clouds emerged and thunder rumbled. Chapter 943. Pill Lightning. The pill lightning of a 6th grade pill. Before coming here, even in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, there were very few people who could confirm that Li Zongjie was a 6th grade alchemist. After all, the pill lightning was most likely an accidental effect. There was some luck involved, but it was enough to prove Li Zongjie's potential. And now, in front of 100,000 people in the arena, under the eyes of everyone, Li Zongjie defeated Long Xian with his left hand. He refined a 6th grade heavenly dragon pill with his right hand. If they didn't see Li Zongjie's refinement with their own eyes, they would probably think that Li Zongjie hid the pill in the cauldron in advance. And the main point was that Li Zongjie used Long Xian's cauldron to refine the heavenly dragon pill. As for the herbs that Long Xian put into the Azura cauldron, they were naturally wasted, including the half-drop of extremely precious dragon blood. It was wasted so easily. Many people felt that it was a pity, but the pity came later. The sudden change in the situation of the competition was simply unexpected. Long Xian was defeated. The most talented person in the Black River Pill Hall was defeated by an unknown young man from the Shengyan dynasty's Heavenly Pill Pavilion. A young man who was almost unknown before this. What? The people from the Black River Pill Hall couldn't sit still. Jin Wenfeng and the others went forward to help Long Xian up from the ground. After getting up, Long Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. He cheated. Yao Hu pointed at Li Zongjie and shouted angrily. The people from the Black River Pill Hall knew Long Xian's ability. However, Li Zongjiu didn't have the time to care about Yao Hu and the others' indignation. The pill lightning in the sky had already fallen. Boom! The terrifying lightning fell, but Li Zongjiu stood still on the spot. The rest of the people were worried. After all, it was a lightning that fell from the sky. However, Chu Tairan and the others had seen the scene of Li Zongjiu carrying the black cloud storm on the heavenly pill pavilion. Even the black cloud storm couldn't do anything to Li Zongjiu, let alone a mere pill lightning. Li Zongjiu naturally had a way to deal with the pill lightning. The pill lightning fell on Li Zongjiu's body. However, it was as if the flames fell on his body, didn't have any fluctuations. After that, the 6 lightning bolts continued to fall, but they were all easily blocked. It was as if nothing had happened to him. That hammer! Damn, this guy is Evil Lord. What's Evil Lord? Someone exclaimed. Seeing the hammer on Li Zongjiu's waist, it attracted the energy in his body. Many people clearly recognized the hammer in Li Zongjiu's hand. If they were to talk about the appearance of the hammer, they wouldn't be able to remember Li Zongjiu's appearance. And this hammer that could continuously release lightning bolts. In the eyes of others, it was extremely familiar. Some of the people who mingled in the arena were very excited. Damn, you don't say, it's really him. Some of the Evil Lord's admirers suddenly became excited. It turned out that the reason why Evil Lord didn't fight in the arena was because he was participating in the alchemy competition here. An expert was indeed an expert. Not only could he kill everyone in the arena, his strength was already so abnormal, and he was also such an awesome alchemist. No one knew who took the lead, but the entire arena began to shout the name of Evil Lord. This Evil Lord shouldn't be talking about the boss, right? Kuan Erishur acted as a spectator below the arena. Although this name sounded a bit flirtatious, it was quite compatible with Li Zongjiu's style of doing things. Qi Yanran also didn't know how Li Zongjiu's nickname came about. It sounded like a child playing house. However, in order to support this name, one needed a lot of strength. Long Xian vomited blood and was seriously injured. I'm not as good as others. Long Xian's voice was trembling. He had to thank Li Zongjiu just now. If Li Zongjiu didn't let go in time, Long Xian's cultivation would have dropped by a level. It seemed that Li Zongjiu didn't really want to cripple Long Xian. Otherwise, Long Xian would have to kneel down today. Only Long Xian knew what was going on. Although he was badly defeated by Li Zongjiu, he still cupped his fists towards Li Zongjiu. Thank you for showing mercy. The more talented a person was, the more self-aware they were. Long Xian understood that Li Zongjiu was fully capable of crippling him, but he left him a chance. Li Zongjiu didn't respond to Long Xian's gratitude. Seeing Li Zongjiu's state, Long Xian's heart thumped. He had a feeling that the Li Zongjiu in front of him didn't seem to be on the same level as him. He defeated him easily, and at the same time, he was able to refine the heavenly dragon pill so easily. The Li Zongjiu in front of him was quite terrifying. Mu Qingyu's eyes emitted waves of cold light. Even his palms were sweating. His strength was on par with Long Xian, and Long Xian was defeated in front of him. If it was him, his situation might not be any better than Long Xian's. Originally, he thought that the final battle of the elixir gathering of the 3 dynasties would be between Mu Qingyu and Long Xian. Who knew that Long Xian would be seriously injured so quickly? There was probably no need to continue the battle with Mu Qingyu. Everyone began to look forward to the battle between Li Zongjiu and Mu Qingyu. There was an hour's break. Because it ended quickly, there was an hour to recover. Although Li Zongjiu didn't need to recover much. If the second round is the same, will it also be refining the heavenly dragon pill? The power of a drop of dragon blood had greatly improved Li Zongjiu's blood-soul realm. If he wanted to get the dragon blood in other places, he might have to spend a lot of effort. Since there was one here, why bother? Therefore, the dragon blood in Mu Qingyu's hand was reserved by Li Zongjiu. Good fella. I didn't expect you to be so good. Chu Tairan laughed out loud. There was no need for the finals at all. Li Zongjiu's performance today was enough to crush the other 2 dynasties. It wasn't a forced victory, but an overwhelming victory. The other party didn't have any temper at all. Even Mu Qingniu of the Heavenly Flame Pill Prefecture was in a state of extreme nervousness. He hadn't even made a move, but he had already forced his opponent to such a state. Who else could be so domineering? In the future, don't invite me to this kind of place where children play, Li Zongjiu said to Chu Tairan. Although it was indeed a bit of a waste of talent, who asked Chu Tairan's age to be suitable. This made others gnash their teeth. After Nan Peixian saw Li Zongjiu's level, he just sat there obediently. He sat there obediently, almost rushing forward to apologize to Li Zongjiu. He never thought that Li Zongjiu's alchemy level would be so fierce that the violent power of the dragon blood could be easily suppressed. He defeated the opponent's trump card Long Xian. Moreover, it was a defeat without any suspense. Therefore, Nan Peixian could only kneel down and lick Li Zongjiu's shoes. Nan Peixian's strength was at most at the level of Yaohu. He was still somewhat inferior to the recovered Ling Yan. Ling Yan, who had recovered, was already able to sit firmly on the second-in-command seat. Su Sha and the others were also extremely excited. After so many days, it was finally time for the Shengyan dynasty to hold their heads high. Why do they call you Evil Lord? Qi Yanran asked curiously. I played in their arena for a few days and gave myself a nickname Evil Lord. They probably saw me fighting in the arena. This is for you. It's good for your body. I added some cold light grass in it. Although it's a heavenly dragon pill, its medicinal properties are mild and cool. It's very suitable for you, Li Zongjiu said. This sweet and greasy pair really made people unable to continue looking at them. Congratulations, boss. Congratulations, boss. Congratulations to the sister-in-law. Kuan Erisher stepped forward and said. For such a long time, Kuan Erisher had been with Li Zongjiu for a long time. He had seen many stunning beauties, one more powerful than the other. But Qi Yanran was still the most comfortable to get along with. In the past, when Qi Yanran came to help, there was no superfluous nonsense at all. When she went to deal with the people of Lingbo Palace, she didn't even blink. She rushed up so recklessly. What else was there to say about this kind of act of brotherhood? He must praise her. Chapter 944. When Qi Yanran heard Li Zongjiu's words, she was slightly surprised. Thinking about it again, this guy always went out and couldn't find anyone. It turned out that he went to such a dangerous place like the arena. Looks like you're going to be famous in the Haika dynasty. Qi Yanran chuckled. With Li Zongjiu's strength, he would be an influential figure no matter where he went. It was just up to Li Zongjiu, whether he wanted to or not. Obviously, Li Zongjiu had already shone brightly in this place. The people from Haiku Pill Hall had an ugly expression. As the host, they were defeated in their own home ground. Moreover, they had lost many times to the Shengyan dynasty. They didn't know if the other party did it on purpose. At the beginning, they purposely sent out a few weak people. Then they slowly unleashed their big moves. Each one was fiercer than the other. There was already a reversal from Qi Yanran. However, in general, the Haiku Pill Hall seemed to have gradually fallen into a disadvantage in this competition. No matter what, the Shengyan dynasty's reputation had risen. With such a talent supporting the Heavenly Pill Hall, it was enough to last for 100 years. The deputy hall master of Haiku Pill Hall, Shuetsonghai, was extremely envious. His eyes were shining. If such a talent can be used by my Haiku Pill Hall, it will definitely strengthen my Haiku Pill Hall. Shuetsonghai let out a long sigh. In comparison, Long Xian and the others were actually so inferior. It was simply unbelievable. Jin Wenfeng secretly clenched his fist when he heard that. Jin Wenfeng knew that it would be difficult for him to catch up with Li Zongjiu, even if he exhausted all his strength. There was actually someone who could surpass him by so much. So what if you're a genius? Jin Wenfeng sneered in his heart. There will always be a chance to deal with you geniuses. Jin Wenfeng wouldn't allow so many people to be stronger than him. He would deal with them one by one. Anyone who was more talented than him would be taken down by Jin Wenfeng in the end. Not only Li Zongjiu, there was also Mu Qingniu. Jin Wenfeng looked at Mu Qingniu. The two of them would not be able to escape from Jin Wenfeng's grasp. It was unknown how Jin Wenfeng's brain worked. He actually had such an idea. If Li Zongjiu knew about this, he would definitely slap the water out of Jin Wenfeng's head. An hour later, the second round had already begun. Li Zongjio had already displayed overwhelming strength, but Mu Qingyo could not be intimidated. Good luck, Lin Lin whispered to Mu Qingyo. Elder Hao Yi of the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture also cast a glance at Mu Qingyo, hinting him not to feel too much pressure. He even gave him a little encouragement. Mu Qingyo stood on the stage. Li Zongjio had also just entered the arena. Although he didn't do it deliberately, Mu Qingyo could clearly feel the powerful aura emanating from Li Zongjio's body. Even under the gaze of so many people, Mu Qingyo didn't show the slightest bit of stage fright. He didn't even show any fluctuations. I will do my best. You don't have to hold back. Mu Qingyo raised his head and said to Li Zongjio. Even if he lost, he didn't need Li Zongjio to go easy on him. Even if he lost, he had to lose fair and square. Whatever. Let's start. Li Zongjio waved his hand and said. An inconspicuous azura cauldron appeared in front of him. The medicinal cauldron in front of Mu Qingyo was also relatively low-key. However, the handle of the medicinal cauldron was replaced by a cow's horn, giving it an unusually sharp aura. An ordinary person would be suppressed by such a force. Azure Ox Cauldron. Mu Qingyo was not flashy. It was much better than Long Xian. Whether or not they could defeat Li Zongjio all depended on Mu Qingyo. Mu Qingyo did not have the slightest bit of carelessness. From the beginning, he displayed his Azure Heaven Dao Fire, and the Azure Flood Bull behind him to protect him. For a moment his aura was unparalleled. A giant bull appeared, stepping on green clouds. The horns on its head were as grand as mountains, easily able to shake 100,000 mountains. Obviously, Mu Qingyo was using all his energy to deal with Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio had already refined a heavenly dragon elixir before, and he had refined it successfully in such a short time. Now he wanted Li Zongjio to refine another one. Li Zongjio had no interest in refining this elixir. Besides, the main effect of the heavenly dragon elixir was the dragon blood. Therefore, in the first half of the process, Li Zongjio had used the power of his own obsidian fire to directly refine the power of the dragon blood in the green ox cauldron and absorb it into his body. Although Mu Qingyo's Dao fire had been eyeing Li Zongjio covetously in the cauldron, it had not had the opportunity to stop him. Li Zongjio had given up on refining the elixir in front of so many people. Although this was a hidden benefit, and the ingredients used in the competition were provided to the alchemists free of charge, Li Zongjio was too brazen. Mu Qingyo suddenly felt the pressure increase. Since Li Zongjio had given up on refining the elixir, he would definitely do his best to stop him. Therefore, he had to be prepared. The refinement process went smoothly, and Mu Qingyo suspected that Li Zongjio was deliberately toying with him. Or maybe he was going easy on him. But when Mu Qingyo poured the dragon blood into the Azura cauldron, before Mu Qingyo could control it, it was snatched away by Li Zongjio's obsidian fire. Mu Qingyo was even more confused. What was this guy doing? He didn't want anything, just waiting for his dragon blood to be poured in. In the blink of an eye, Li Zongjio had refined the dragon blood and absorbed it into his body. He used it to refine the blood soul hell, causing the aura of the blood soul hell to become even more tyrannical. In the blood soul hell, the dragon blood's power was released as if the blood dragon was reincarnated. It was from the same source as the blood dragon's soul, so the dragon blood's power was very effective in the blood soul hell. The dragon blood that Mu Qingyo had just poured in was snatched away by Li Zongjio. There was no need to continue refining the elixir. All the ingredients were wasted. The only hope left was to attack and defend with the flames in the cauldron. Li Zongjio was merciful. He didn't cause too much damage to these young people. He threw Mu Qingyo and his cow off the stage. Mu Qingyo himself didn't even know what was going on. How could he be thrown off the stage? This was too tragic. This battle Li Zongjio won again. The audience directly shouted the name of the evil lord. Some people still didn't know how Li Zongjio got the title of evil lord. And after asking around, they all clenched their fists and shouted the name of evil lord, as if they were injected with chicken blood. Li Zongjio, evil lord. Among the audience, there was one person who came late. But when he walked in, his eyes fell on Li Zongjio and didn't leave. It was as if there was monstrous hatred in his eyes. But soon, this pair of eyes that were filled with hatred retracted, and slowly looked at a person in the stands. You killed my family. I will let you taste the feeling of losing your family. I will start with her. Then this figure also hid in the crowd. Li Zongjio won 2 matches in a row, and the Shengyan dynasty's points were directly reduced to 0. Although it was 0, it was still better than a negative number. At least it wasn't a negative number. Long Xian's condition hadn't been adjusted, and was no longer suitable to fight. Even if Mu Qingniu didn't want to take advantage of this battle, he still added points to his score. Now, the final tally showed that the Tianyan dynasty was leading by 2 points. Next was the Shengyan dynasty's score of 0. The Haika dynasty was the most miserable. Today, they suffered 2 consecutive defeats, and their points were directly reduced to -1. The gap between the 3 parties wasn't that big. Therefore, the final battle tomorrow was extremely crucial. The Tianyan dynasty was also very careful. After all, it seemed that the Shengyan dynasty could easily surpass them. Only a gap of 2 points wasn't too big. In fact, even if they got first place, so what? The 2 strongest experts were defeated by Li Zongjio. The Shengyan dynasty was the biggest winner of this competition. Haha, great, really great. This time, I want to see what those rigid things in the imperial court have to say. Chu Tairan was obviously very happy. No matter what, they didn't lose face for the dynasty. Instead, they gained a lot of face back. The Shengyan dynasty was finally not a side race. At a restaurant at the dining table. Li Zongjio, this time when we go back, I will get you whatever you want from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's treasury, Chu Tairan said loudly. Normally, he wouldn't drink in front of these juniors. But today, he couldn't hold back his happiness, and directly opened a jar of 100-year-old pure wine. Oh, then get some dragon blood to nourish your body, Li Zongjio said. Next to him were Kuan Erisher and Qi Yinran. Chapter 945. Well, there's no hurry. Let's go back and discuss it slowly. Haha, come, let's drink. Chu Tairan was shocked by Li Zongjio's request. Could it be that this kid was doing it on purpose? It was not an easy task to obtain dragon blood. Moreover, it was even more difficult to obtain pure dragon blood. Even in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's treasure vault, there might not be dragon blood. After a night of drinking and eating, they were full. Chu Tairan originally proposed that everyone go to wash their feet, take a bath or something like that. But everyone waved their hands again and again. Obviously, they were not interested in this matter. What's more, even if they wanted to go, they wouldn't go with an old man like him. The embarrassed Chu Tairan could only go and play with Zhou. Li Zongjio brought Qi Yinran to the previous practice room. He helped the latter to refine the heavenly dragon pill. It won't affect tomorrow's competition, right? In the secret room, Qi Yinran's mood suddenly became nervous for some reason. She felt that something was going to happen, and she didn't even dare to look at Li Zongjio. She could only use such a topic to distract her attention. No, with me here, it will be done in half an hour. Li Zongjio chuckled, and then whispered in Qi Yinran's ear. However, this time is the same, you can't wear clothes. Hearing Li Zongjio's words, Qi Yinran's heart suddenly trembled slightly. This guy! All of a sudden Qi Yinran blushed. Although she had done this last time, it was to heal her injuries. This time, even without Li Zongjio, she could refine the elixir. However, this guy insisted on coming in and said that he would help her refine the elixir. Anyone could see Li Zongjio's intention. Although Qi Yinran was extremely shy, under Li Zongjio's urging, she undressed, revealing her white and tender skin. She held the heavenly dragon pill in her mouth. But before she swallowed it, Li Zongjio had already pounced directly on her. The refining of the heavenly dragon pill may require some different postures, Li Zongjio said in a deep voice. That low and magnetic voice also echoed in Qi Yinran's ears. In an instant, the two bodies were entangled together, producing an indescribable scene. Even if Ruan Xiaodai was beaten to death, she would never have imagined that Li Zongjio would actually do such a thing in her exclusive training room. An hour later, Qi Yanran snuggled in Li Zongjiu's arms, with a trace of tiredness and excitement on her face. Didn't you say that in half an hour? Obviously, the refining process just now had exhausted Qi Yanran. That way, you'll be able to absorb the medicinal effects more fully and faster. Look at your current cultivation base. You're almost catching up to me. Li Xiao. I see that you still haven't fully absorbed it. Let me continue to help you. After that, Li Zongjiu pounced on Qi Yanran again. It was not difficult for Li Zongjiu to push such a little girl. Another hour passed. Do you always bring a mattress and quilt when you go out? Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu suspiciously. Could it be that this guy was the kind of person who showed mercy everywhere? If that was the case, Qi Yanran was doomed. Otherwise, why would he bring a mattress and quilt with him? Moreover, these things looked very expensive. It should be Xiao Zhao who prepared them for me. That girl is quite meticulous. Li Zongjiu himself did not understand that there was such a good thing as a mattress in his storage ring. So he directly took it out and used it just now. I think it won't be long before Miss Xiao Zhao can't escape from your clutches. Qi Yanran said faintly. It's a little early for you to be jealous. I, Li Zongjiu, have always been serious in everything I do. Li Zongjiu immediately said seriously. Perhaps in Qi Yanran's opinion, she was just a temporary interest of Li Zongjiu, but Li Zongjiu knew. It was hard to say what fate had planned. It was already an extravagant wish to have a second chance in this life. Now that Qi Yanran was by his side, he would cherish her even more. I will treat you well. Li Zongjiu hugged Qi Yanran tightly in his arms. He had been too lonely in his previous life. Now that there was someone by his side, he would subconsciously think that this was just an illusory dream. Li Zongjiu also needed to grasp it tightly. The effect of the Tianlong elixir was not only to strengthen the origin, but also to rapidly improve the cultivation. With the help of Li Zongjiu, Qi Yanran's cultivation directly rose to the level of a 6th grade Yuan King overnight. Such a cultivation was considered top-notch, even in the first-rate sects of the sacred flame royal city. Moreover, Qi Yanran herself also focused on the direction of alchemy. Because she spent more time in alchemy, her cultivation of primary power was not too outstanding. The two disappeared for a night and appeared in front of everyone the next day. Everyone present was an adult, so naturally, they could guess what happened last night. Did you smell it? Kuan Erishur nudged Yao Fong with his shoulder. What? Yao Fong was stunned. What was Kuan Erishur talking about? He did not smell anything strange. The sour smell of love. Kuan Erishur said solemnly. These words made Qi Yanran even more ashamed and angry. However, Qi Yanran was not someone to be trifled with. Kuan Erishur, it seems like you like to tease people. In that case, I would like to experience your Kuan wing spear. Make your move. As Qi Yanran spoke, she took out a snow-white long mace. Desolate Heaven Essence. When the Desolate Heaven Essence appeared in his hand, Kuan Arashi's face turned bitter. He had never expected that his boss would give this weapon to Qi Yanran. Clearly, he thought highly of Qi Yanran. Cough cough. I did not say anything. You are my sister-in-law. How can you treat me like this? Kuan Erishur said with a sobbing tone. In fact, even without the Desolate Heaven Essence, Qi Yanran could still easily defeat Kuan Erishur with her current strength. As a 6th grade Yuan King, in addition to Qi Yanran's strong combat strength, it would be extremely easy for her to defeat Kuan Erishur. Boss, you have to help me. Kuan Erishur asked Li Zongjiu for help. Yes, you have to be careful. The Desolate Heaven Essence is too powerful. Just break his legs. Li Zongjiu said. Kuan Erishur fled when he heard this. He hid behind Su Sha, who had just walked over. After all, Su Sha was the leader of this trip. Let's go. The finals will be held at Mallard Volcano. Chapter 946. Mallard Volcano. Li Zongjiu and the rest did not know the exact location of the volcano. However, according to the information that Su Sha had found, the Mallard Volcano was one of the 10 most dangerous volcanoes. Under the volcano, it was able to condense an extremely precious mineral, the Mallard Fire Crystal. The value of the Mallard Fire Crystal was almost the same as a high-grade primordial stone. However, in the Mallard volcano, not only was there a terrifying flame storm, there were also some fire-attributed primordial stones hidden deep within the volcano. Some were on the mountain walls, some were hidden in the magma. There were many kinds of them, waiting for an opportunity to strike. If one wanted to harvest these things, they would need to put in a lot of effort. It was also very dangerous. The content of the finals was to harvest the Mallard fire crystal. If they only heard this, many people would not be willing to go. After all, such a thing was extremely risky. If they were not careful, they would fall into it. Wouldn't all the geniuses that they had nurtured over the years be wasted? However, the Heike dynasty was very smart. The person who harvested the Mallard fire crystal could directly take half of it. Taking half of it, what kind of concept was that? It was as if they had opened up such a place for you to harvest. Although the Mallard volcano was extremely dangerous, because of the existence of the Mallard fire crystal, it had become a resource area. It was controlled by the Heike dynasty. If an ordinary person needed to harvest it, they would have to hand over at least 80% of it. You could only keep 20% of it. Apart from that, there were also people in charge of harvesting the Mallard fire crystal. Whether it was used as an alchemy material or as a building material, the Mallard fire crystal was very useful. It had become an extremely popular source of energy. Since they could directly take half of it, it was very easy to negotiate. Everyone was extremely anxious. This was a very good opportunity to give away money. You guys have to be careful this time around. The Mallard volcano is filled with danger, and it's not that simple. Moreover, you guys only have 2 days. During these 2 days, you have to try your best to stay together and not get separated. Chu Tairan exhorted. Li Zhongjiu, I'll leave their safety to you. Help me look after them for a while. Don't worry. Li Zhongjiu nodded. After all, as the honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, if anything happened to his subordinates, Li Zhongjiu would not be able to explain himself. After all, Li Zhongjiu was not the kind of person who only took money and did nothing. He still had to avoid cooperating with the Heavenly Pill Pavilion in the future. Obviously, this last round did not have much to do with alchemy. It would still depend on each person's ability. As for the standard of alchemy, everyone had already seen it for themselves. They already knew who was stronger and who was weaker. And this was the main point of the finals. Chu Tairan smelled a hint of conspiracy. After all, they were going deep into a dangerous place. No one knew what kind of situation would occur. However, they weren't willing to give up on this opportunity. This was a very good opportunity. They couldn't find such a good way to get their hands on fire crystals in other places. As for the reason, if he wanted to become an alchemist, he needed to have the ability to find resources. Moreover, with the strength of an alchemist, it would be easier for him to pick up the fire crystals. Li Zhongjiu and the others came to the gathering point in the north of the city. The other 2 teams were already prepared for this. After everyone had arrived, they directly boarded the Black River Pill Hall's flying boat. They headed towards the Vulture volcano in the north. On the flying boat, the final judgment of this competition was also explained. The points would be determined by the collected crystals. A beginner-level fire crystal would give 1 point. A medium-grade fire duck crystal can give you 3 points. One high-grade duck fire crystal can give you 10 points. In short, the more fire crystals one could find, the better. The higher the level, the better. Because the fire crystals were related to one's income. Even if they didn't cheer, these people would probably try their best to find the fire crystals. Previously, they had fought so hard, but they didn't expect that the final result would be decided in such a way. Obviously, this was to make the final result look better. If it was a point-based competition, and people asked you how many points you had in the end, and you said that you had a negative score and still won the competition, wouldn't that be a joke to others? Although the Vulture volcano is sealed, it's too big, and there are many entrances. It's impossible to seal all of them. The danger inside is unpredictable. I suggest that you try your best to stay away from the core area. You have 2 days. If you encounter any danger, you can release a signal, and the organizing committee will rescue you. If you use a signal flare in the middle of the competition, you will be disqualified. One of the elder judges said. Li Zhongjie had always known who the members of the organizing committee were. If the organizing committee was from the Black River Pill Hall, it would be normal for them to give some special treatment to the people of the Black River Pill Hall. However, when he saw Xuezong Hai calling himself the deputy hall master, he had to stand aside in front of the elders of the organizing committee. Looks like they're from the Haika dynasty's sacred palace. Li Zhongjie nodded in his heart. Although the Haika dynasty was a dynasty, there was a place that was above the imperial power, and that was the sacred palace. The existence of the sacred palace was the pinnacle of cultivation. On the other hand, it controlled the highest lifeline of the Haika dynasty. Even the emperor of the Haika dynasty was directly appointed by the Black Canal Basilica. Li Zhongjie was not surprised by such an existence. He knew the reason for such a thing from the 3,000 years of experience in his previous life. After all, the situation was different in every place. However, all roads lead to the same goal. If the Black Canal Basilica was not strong enough, how could it have such a status? In the end, it was only right to have a strong fist. Vulture Volcano. When everyone was 500 miles away from the Vulture Volcano, they could already feel the heat in the air. Everyone present was an alchemist. When they entered such an environment, they could not help but become extremely excited. What a strong fire attribute Yuan Qi. This place is really a sacred cultivation place for alchemists. Someone thought in his heart. Kuan Erishur, and the others also greedily took a few breaths of air. Fuck, this place is too comfortable. Kuan Erishur said excitedly. He could clearly feel that the flames in his body were constantly getting stronger. Cultivating for a day here was equivalent to cultivating for 10 days in the outside world. This Vulture Volcano is fucking huge. Chapter 947. It was the gigantic Mount Fugu in front of them. The area was already half the size of Luoxia City. Looking at it, the gigantic crater was like a black hole that devoured everything. Below the crater of the volcano, there were also countless mountains stretching out. One could see that the mountains were extremely vast. If one were to throw a person into the mountains, he would be like an ant. Contestants from Heavenly Flame Pill Palace enter the mountain at the north entrance. Contestants from Black River Pill Palace enter the mountain at the east entrance. Contestants from Shengyan Dynasty enter the mountain at the south entrance. The committee elder said. Then, he brought Li Zhongjie and the others to the south entrance. Every entrance was heavily guarded. At the same time, there were also people in charge here. Li Zhongjie, Qi Yanran, Ling Yan, Yao Feng and Nan Peixian. A total of 5 people. At the entrance, they received a storage pouch that was specially used to store fuhua crystals. The properties of the duckfire crystal itself were quite special. If it was stored in a storage ring, it could burn the storage ring. Hence, once the fuhua crystals were placed in the storage ring, not only would it not be able to be stored, it would also burn the items in the storage ring. Hence, they had to use a special storage pouch. Considering that the strength of these people was not simple, the storage pouch that was given to each of them was very large. We will wait at the west entrance. Everyone will gather there. You can only rely on yourselves now, Chu Tairan said. His words made it sound like this old man had helped them in the previous competition. Alright, don't worry, Li Zhongjie said. Nan Peixian felt a little uncomfortable. He was originally a genius of his generation, but after coming here, he had suffered a series of setbacks. When he found out that Li Zhongjie was an out-and-out genius, he felt like he had been slapped in the face. He had been ridiculing Li Zhongjie in his heart, although he did not say it out loud. Fortunately, he did not say it out loud. Otherwise, he would be a complete idiot in front of Li Zhongjie. Hence, he was more honest when he followed behind Li Zhongjie. The 5 of them entered the Mallard volcano. The first thing they entered was a rock forest. After passing through the scorching hot rocks, one still had to climb to the top of the volcano. Only after climbing to the top could one be considered to have truly reached the top of the volcano. After that, they would enter the volcano from the top. Just within the inner walls of the volcano, one could find some fire duct crystals. Moreover, on the inner wall of the volcano, one could occasionally see some magma spewing out from the mountain walls. Therefore, he had to be very careful. It's so far away. It won't be easy to meet them. Even if we meet them, we won't necessarily be at a disadvantage. Let's split up, Ling Yin said. Otherwise, she would have to watch Qi Yinran and Li Zongjiu being lovey-dovey all the way. Youngsters nowadays were really unbearable. All right. Li Zongjiu nodded and said. He was not a parent, so after they took action on their own, he could not take the initiative to follow behind them and protect them. Moreover, danger was something that no one could say for sure. If there's anything, just send a signal, Li Zongjiu said. If someone asked him for help, it wouldn't be a problem for him to lend a hand. Yao Feng and Nan Peixian were also free to move in other directions. This time, their main goal was to obtain the fire duct crystals and gain points. Naturally, they couldn't see anything on the outer wall of the volcano, but on the inner wall, the chances of finding something were higher. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran naturally moved together. After refining the Heaven Dragon pill last night, the relationship between the two could be said to be very close. However, Li Zongjiu did not treat Qi Yinran as a weak girl. If she wanted to follow Li Zongjiu, her own strength had to be constantly enhanced. Along the way, when they encountered some meta beasts, Li Zongjiu would let Qi Yinran handle them personally. Of course, the premise was that she could use the Desolate Heaven Essence well. This kind of weapon seemed to be more suitable in Qi Yinran's hands. The Desolate Heaven Essence had two forms. The first was the form of a long mace, and the other was a long whip that could trap the enemy. Li Zongjiu rarely used the whip. Usually, he would just beat people up. Compared to Qi Yinran, the effect of this long whip was similar to the effect of the branch extension of the longevity tree. Qi Yinran's talent was also very strong. Soon she had a good grasp of the Desolate Heaven Essence. Moreover, her own Yuan Qi realm had stabilized. 7th grade Yuan King. The sudden increase in strength naturally required enough time to settle down. There probably aren't any fire duct crystals outside. Along the way, Qi Yinran found that there was very little vitality, and the environment was extremely dry. This had a slight impact on Qi Yinran's Yuan spirit. After a brief inspection, she understood that there probably weren't any crystals around. Even if there were, they would have been found long ago. Then let's go into the mountain, Li Zongjiu said. The two of them crossed the highest ridge line and entered the interior of the volcano. Even some Yuan King cultivators would have to spend more than half of their energy to withstand the high temperature here. However, alchemists were used to dealing with flames all year round. The surrounding temperature was nothing to them. There was even origin qi flowing around his body, making people feel a sense of coolness. Qi Yinran had such a feeling when she stayed beside Li Zongjiu. You have reached the Yuan King realm? Qi Yinran looked at Li Zongjiu. Although she was extremely surprised, there wasn't much surprise in Qi Yinran's eyes. It was just a simple question. Li Zongjiu's aura was already connected to heaven and earth. Li Zongjiu's body had become a part of the world, becoming a cycle. Any power could be used by Li Zongjiu, and it could also be mobilized by Li Zongjiu. Thus, even in a hot area, he could still maintain his coolness. Yes, when I came out of seclusion that day, I was only a first-grade Yuan King, Li Zongjiu said without any intention of showing off. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with his current state. Qi Yinran was completely defeated by Li Zongjiu's attitude. Such a young Yuan King in the entire Xingwu continent. How many people could there be? Qi Yinran remembered that she had heard of some extremely ancient families. The existence of those people seemed to control the lifeline of the world. The strength of these ancient families was extraordinary. Usually, these people were also in a state of not caring about worldly affairs. With your talent, you should be about the same as those people from the legendary ancient families. Qi Yinran asked curiously. Well, at present, my realm shouldn't be as high as those people, but it wouldn't be a problem to destroy them. Chapter 948. Li Zongjiu's answer was rather pertinent, but to Qi Yinran, It sounded like a child. Li Zongjie was just like a child. He liked to compete, and was unwilling to admit the strength of these ancient family clans. That was why he said that. But Qi Yinran did not expose him. The two of them began to search for duck fire crystals in the interior of the volcano. I found it. Qi Yinran smashed a large hole in the ground with the desolate heaven essence in her hand. Then, she dug out a fiery red crystal from the hole. Although it was only the size of a fingernail, it emitted an extremely dense flame aura. For any alchemist, this was a rare treasure. Even when she felt the flame aura, Qi Yinran could not help but take 2 more breaths of the aura emitted from the duck fire crystal. Not bad, but it's just a fragment. Li Zongjie did not hold back. After Qi Yinran heard this, she rolled her eyes at him. This is mine. Then, Qi Yinran proudly put the duck fire crystal in her storage bag. She protected it, as if Li Zongjie would snatch it from her. She protected it well. If Li Zongjie dared to make a move, she would definitely not hold back. To Li Zongjie and Qi Yinran, it was as if they were on a sightseeing tour and picking up some duck fire crystals along the way. The rest could be said to be facing dangers from all sides, and moving forward with difficulty. Nan Peixian had been attacked by several meta beasts consecutively. Until now, he had not even seen a shadow of a duck fire crystal. Isn't this supposed to be an alchemy competition? What is the meaning of this? This is obviously a wilderness survival competition. After a round of fighting, Nan Peixian was covered in mud. Just the number of times he rolled on the ground was enough. There were even a few places that were torn apart. They were just here to participate in a small competition, and yet they encountered such life-threatening situations. My clothes, these clothes are too expensive. They're top-quality goods from Female Scarlet District. Nan Peixian had a long face, but he hadn't found a single duck fire crystal yet. In fact, the reason for this setting was to prove that it was extremely difficult to find the duck fire crystal. It was not as simple as he had imagined. Outside Mount Yuhu, Su Sha and the others looked up at the towering volcano. I wonder how the situation is now. They were outside and knew nothing about the situation inside, so they could only wait here. The west entrance was also the west exit. To reach this place, one would need to cross a quarter of the volcano's range. One could imagine the dangers one would encounter along the way. Strictly speaking, as long as you enter the core area, there shouldn't be any problems. Chu Tairan said. If it was really dangerous, Chu Tairan and the others would not have agreed. This was just a training. As long as you were not a coward, you could basically survive. Core area. Li Zongjie and Qi Yinran were already close. From this position, he could already see the meandering magma flow not far away. The magma in Mount Yuhu was like a tide. There were high tides and low tides. Looking at the situation now, the magma should be in the low tide phase. The rocks under their feet were hot and hard. Rocks that could remain in the magma were very unusual. It was very difficult for ordinary weapons to break them. However, apart from being hard, these rocks did not have any other effects. Therefore, they were not very valuable. Otherwise, people would have come down to dig for these rocks. And most of the fire duck crystals were hidden under these rocks. Only by constantly digging would one be able to find the duck fire crystal. An ordinary Yuan monarch elite would need at least 10 minutes to chisel through a rock, even if he brought along professional equipment. It would be a waste of time and energy if he started to chisel through the rock before he could accurately detect the location of the rock. Boom! Li Zongjie punched a rock. Then, he took out a scarlet crystal from a pile of rubble. Duck fire crystal. And it's a medium-grade duck fire crystal. Qi Yinran was shocked when she saw the duck fire crystal in Li Zongjie's hand. She had not seen Li Zongjie do anything along the way. However, she had found a lot of low-grade duck fire crystals, so she was a little proud of herself. However, she was shocked when she saw Li Zongjie find the duck fire crystal so accurately. How did you do it? Qi Yinran asked in surprise. These rocks were extremely hard and had been in the magma for a long time, absorbing heat. Even if one used their mind power to probe, they would be scalded by these rocks. Therefore, they could only rely on luck. Qi Yinran had done some research before and observed carefully. That was why she had been able to find the medium-grade duck fire crystal so quickly. Obviously, she had not relied on luck. My Southland ring has a certain probing effect on things with dense primordial qi. Li Zongjie raised his hand and said, showing off his old buddy. Although it was not difficult for Li Zongjie to find things with his mind power, Li Zongjie's mind power had entered the primitive emperor realm, so it was naturally easier to find things. However, in such a place, it was better not to consume any strength. It was not wrong to preserve some strength. That's amazing, Qi Yinran said in surprise. But if you want to talk about tools to find vitality, I have one here. Then, Qi Yinran took out a copper plate from her storage ring. The copper plate looked extremely old and shabby. There were some strange pointers and scales engraved on the copper plate. If one had not studied it, there was no way to understand what it meant. However, when Qi Yinran picked up these things and studied them, she knew that as long as she followed the pointers, she would be able to find things with vitality. However, this thing was extremely unintelligent. As long as there was vitality, it would interfere with its function, and the effect would not be great. If it was placed in a pile of vitality stones, the pointers would spin like a flying machine. It would not be able to guide the way at all. You actually have something? Li Zongjie was surprised when he saw the thing in Qi Yinran's hand. You recognize it? I got it from a flea market, Qi Yinran said as she handed the copper plate to Li Zongjie. This is called the dragon searching plate. It was used by people in the past to find the treasures of the dragon race. Later on, the dragon race could not stand the fact that humans were always stealing their treasures, so they directly stored their lair on Dragon Island. Qi Yinran found it interesting at first, but as she listened, she knew that Li Zongjie was deliberately causing trouble again. What the hell is this? You! How dare you tease me? Qi Yinran raised the desolate heaven essence in her hand and was about to fight with Li Zongjie. Don't be agitated, don't be agitated. Look, this is how to use it. With that said, Li Zongjie took out the fire duck crystal he had just found and gently rubbed it against the pointers on the dragon searching plate. Then he turned a spring at the bottom. Immediately, a hidden compartment jumped out. Li Zongjie inserted a primordial stone into the hidden compartment. The size of the hidden compartment was just right for a primordial stone. When the hidden compartment was closed again, the searching dragon plate finally began to move. After the pointers spun one round, they pointed in a direction. It immediately pointed in a direction, and the few small needles beside it also started to move. Over here, northwest 500 meters, there is a fire duck crystal of the same attribute. Chapter 949. The two followed the direction of the searching dragon compass, and indeed found a medium-grade duckfire crystal under a rock. Qi Yinran could not believe her eyes. Li Zongjie saw Qi Yinran's incredulous look and smiled slightly. However, Li Zongjie did not tell Qi Yinran that the searching dragon compass would fall into his hands in a few hundred years. The appearance of the searching dragon compass had caused a bloodbath on the continent. In fact, this bloodbath was mostly caused by Li Zongjie for the searching dragon compass. The searching dragon compass was used to find treasures, and it involved an ancient dragon emperor's tomb. A long time ago, someone had created the searching dragon compass to find the ancient dragon emperor's tomb. Li Zongjie had been waiting for the searching dragon compass to appear. Who would have thought that it would appear on its own? And it was in Qi Yinran's hands. It was fate making a fool out of him. Li Zongjie taught Qi Yinran the most basic way to use it. As for the knack of it, Li Zongjie himself was not clear, so he could not explain it to Qi Yinran. Why do I feel like this thing belongs to you? Qi Yinran said this feeling. It was as if the searching dragon compass had been created for Li Zongjie, and originally belonged to Li Zongjie. Isn't what's yours mine? Li Zongjie looked into Qi Yinran's eyes and said seriously. Who would have thought that this guy would suddenly reveal such a trick? And Qi Yinran was caught off guard. You've had enough. Haha. Use this and the searching dragon compass to look for duckfire crystals. I won't waste any more time. This volcanic area has fire elements, and it's perfect for tempering my physical body, Li Zongjie said. Qi Yinran was shocked to hear Li Zongjiu's words. Thinking back to what Li Zongjiu had done on the flying boat, he looked at the excited look on Li Zongjiu's face. "What are you doing?" "Don't worry. I'll be fine," Li Zongjiu said. Then, he took off his clothes and jumped into the boiling magma river in front of him. Qi. Li Zongjiu's body sank directly into the magma. Although Qi Yinran was worried about Li Zongjiu, she did not stop him. Becoming Li Zongjiu's woman was never to stop him from doing things, but to support him in everything he did. He saw Li Zongjiu jump into the lava. Qi Yinran was also convinced by Li Zongjiu's perseverance. This guy liked to be like this. But if he didn't suffer, how could he have the ability that others didn't have? Born geniuses were not scary. The scary thing is that these talented people work harder than you. In Qi Yinran's eyes, Li Zongjiu belonged to the kind of talented and extremely hardworking existence. Li Zongjiu was in the magma, using the magma fire to temper his ancient tyrannical golden body. As for Qi Yinran, she stopped after walking for some distance. "You've been following me sneakily for a while. If you have anything to say, come out and say it." Qi Yinran seemed to be talking to the empty space. However, when Qi Yinran's voice fell, there was a fluctuation behind her. A figure walked out from behind a rock. The person who walked out glanced at the dead branch under his feet. "I didn't expect you to be so careful." Qian Xiaojia walked out from behind the rock, holding a lancet in her arms. Along the way, there were many times when she couldn't help but want to kill Li Zongjiu. But when she thought of the pain Li Zongjiu gave her and hurt her family, Qian Xiaojia couldn't let Li Zongjiu die so easily. She had to let Li Zongjiu taste the pain of losing his family. Finally, the two of them separated. However, what Qian Xiaojia didn't expect was that Qi Yinran had already discovered her. Qi Yinran turned to look at the person behind her. "With your methods, you'll only be sending yourself to death. Why bother?" Qi Yinran didn't know who the person in front of her was, but along the way, the murderous aura that was released from time to time already told Qi Yinran why the person in front of her came here. She didn't make a move along the way, so Qi Yinran had been enduring until now. Because Qi Yinran didn't want to add more burden to Li Zongjiu. On the contrary, Qi Yinran wanted to help Li Zongjiu solve the problem. She was not only a good-looking vase, but also had the strength to solve these problems in front of her. "Hee, that kid killed my family and humiliated my family. It's not too much for me to kill his woman." Qian Xiaojia sneered, then pulled out the lancet in her hand. Her aura also gradually rose. Step by step, she walked towards Qi Yinran, with only cold murderous aura in her eyes. Qi Yinran also watched as Qian Xiaojia's aura reached the threshold of the peak of the Yuan King realm. Then, she easily broke through the peak of the Yuan King realm, and instantly reached the Yuan Emperor realm. Yuan Emperor realm. No wonder she was so daring to follow Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran all the way. Facing in Yuan Emperor realm elite again, Qi Yinran's heart was no longer as excited as before. She even had the feeling of risking her life. Previously, Qi Yinran thought that it was already very good to be able to withstand one or two moves. However, this time, Qi Yinran only wanted to kill the person in front of her to get rid of any future troubles. The only explanation for the enemy who chased her here was the Qian family. "I will cut off your head, soak it in medicine, and let Li Zongjiu drink it." Qian Xiaojia's figure suddenly surged out, her legs suddenly exerting force, directly approaching Qi Yinran. Seeing this, Qi Yinran gently flung the desolate heaven essence in her hand towards Qian Xiaojia. Too slow. Qian Xiaojia saw the desolate heaven essence flung out by Qi Yinran, and immediately raised the lancet in her hand, wanting to shatter the desolate heaven essence. As long as there was enough speed and accuracy, any weapon in Qian Xiaojia's hands would instantly shatter into pieces. However, the moment Qian Xiaojia's lancet came into contact with the desolate heaven essence, it made a clanging sound. The Yuan Emperor's protective aura was directly broken by the desolate heaven essence. What? Qian Xiaojia, who was originally full of confidence, and even had the intention to kill, instantly changed. How is this possible? The whip formed by the desolate heaven essence instantly swept over Qian Xiaojia's head. Just this momentary movement made Qian Xiaojia feel a chill on her head. Pung! The long whip fell to the ground. A large crater was instantly formed on the ground. These stones were extremely hard stones, but under Qi Yinran's long whip, they were easily shattered. Qian Xiaojia retreated a few steps and narrowly avoided Qi Yinran's attack. Just as she was about to retreat, 2 tree branches suddenly shot out from the floor and wrapped around Qian Xiaojia's legs. The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yinran's hand fell towards Qian Xiaojia's head. Pung! Qian Xiaojia's body was sent flying. Half of his body cracked open, and the injuries were shocking. Pua! Qian Xiaojia could not believe his eyes. Although Qi Yinran was powerful, she was only at the Yuan Emperor realm. She could not even break through his protective aura. However, the weapon in his hand seemed to be the bane of his defense. It easily broke through his defense. There was no longer any chance for him to escape. Behind Qian Xiaojia, an ancient tree appeared. The power of the desolate heaven essence also floated beside Qi Yinran. With a gentle wave, it could unleash a power that could destroy the world. At this moment, Qian Xiaojia was seriously injured and could not move. He did not expect that a woman by Li Zongjiu's side would be so strong. Do you think Zongjiu did not notice you? Qi Yinran looked at the pitiful person in front of her. With such strength, he could not even get past her. He actually wanted to seek revenge on Li Zongjiu. When Qian Xiaojia heard Qi Yinran's words, his eyes gradually revealed a look of despair. Qi Yinran had just figured it out. With Li Zongjiu's strength, how could he not notice Qian Xiaojia, who had been with him for so long? The reason why he let Qi Yinran handle it herself was because he knew that Qi Yinran had the strength to deal with Qian Xiaojia. Qian Xiaojia wanted to say something. Qi Yinran was not interested in listening. The desolate heaven essence fell and blasted Qian Xiaojia into pieces. Soon his body, which had lost the protection of his elemental energy, was roasted into a pile of bones. The white bones continued to be roasted and soon, they turned into a pile of ashes when the wind blew. She put away the desolate heaven essence. Qi Yinran turned and walked towards the direction Li Zongjiu had jumped, and began searching for the fire duck crystal. Chapter 950. With the help of the dragon seeking plate, Qi Yinran was able to collect a lot of fire duck crystals. After collecting about 100 fire duck crystals, Qi Yinran felt bored. Qi Yinran also seemed to be a little bored, so she simply strolled around. Above the sky, a large number of fiery red giant birds suddenly flew up. They were all fire ducks. Huh! Qi Yinran raised her head and saw the fire ducks' movements. He also frowned slightly. Why were there so many fire ducks in front of her? There were at least 1,000 of them hovering in the sky. Not good, the magma is rising. Qi Yinran suddenly saw the magma flowing out from the original place in the magma basin. The position and depth of the flames were constantly rising. If the magma was rising, it meant that the magma at the bottom was constantly flowing out. And the magma at the bottom meant that the temperature was higher and more terrifying. Li Zongjiu might be able to withstand the previous temperature, but the current temperature was at least 100 times higher. Seeing this, Qi Yinran was also very worried, but at this moment she was helpless. She had no way to save Li Zongjiu, so Qi Yinran could only try her best to get close and wait for Li Zongjiu to rush out of the flames. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was under the magma. He couldn't see anything, but the magma from before was still a little lacking to refine Li Zongjiu's body. Just a moment ago, a huge amount of heat suddenly surged out, making Li Zongjiu feel that the surroundings seemed to have become much more comfortable. This immediately made Li Zongjiu excited. He immediately activated the ancient golden tyrant body art. Li Zongjiu's body was constantly absorbing the surrounding energy. What's that? When Li Zongjiu began to absorb the energy, he felt several auras approaching and instinctively felt danger. But in the next moment, the Southern Empire ring fluctuated. It made Li Zongjiu feel that there was something with energy in front of him. Li Zongjiu immediately stretched out his hand. A boiling hot power surged into his hand. Li Zongjiu opened his eyes slightly, and his eyes were immediately filled with boiling magma. Although Li Zongjiu's physical cultivation had reached the Origin Emperor realm, It didn't mean that the rest of his internal organs had reached the same realm. There were still many ways to break it down. Therefore, his eyes were also burned by this power. Chi. This feels so good. First it was an intense pain. Then it was a soreness. With the protection of his cultivation technique, these injuries were nothing to him. He could easily deal with them. At the same time, Li Zongjiu already knew what he was holding in his hand. It was actually a top-grade fire duck crystal. These top-grade flaming duck crystals were hidden at the bottom of the magma. This time they came out as the magma rose. Moreover, with the characteristics of these flaming duck crystals, it was easy for them to absorb even more powerful forces and move closer to them. After sensing Li Zongjiu's presence, these top-grade fire duck crystals were like walking right into a trap. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Li Zongjiu took advantage of this gap and continuously grabbed dozens of fire duck crystals. They couldn't be stored in the storage ring. However, Li Zongjiu opened up the hell space himself. It was extremely easy for him to store these fire duck crystals. He waved his hand. Li Zongjiu threw all the fire duck crystals in his hand into a blank hell space. At present, Li Zongjiu had opened up a total of 2 hell spaces: Blood Soul Hell and Spirit Hell. Finally, the third hell had already been decided. Naturally, it was fire, because Li Zongjiu was the ancestor of playing with fire, and in addition, refining pills required fire. Therefore, when the fire reached the extreme, it was a very terrifying thing. Li Zongjiu immediately kept all the top-grade fire duck crystals in his hell. Bang! Boom! Li Zongjiu immediately activated the berserk cultivation mode and continuously absorbed the surrounding energy into his body. This attracted even more top-grade fire duck crystals to Li Zongjiu. The reason why he did this was because Li Zongjiu wanted to find a stronger existence. Look around for me. See if there are any supreme grade ones nearby. Li Zongjiu immediately immersed his mind into the Southern Kingdom ring in his hand. Immediately, the Southern Kingdom ring seemed to sense its owner's desire. For a moment it emitted a light and brought Li Zongjiu down. The deeper he went, the more dangerous it was. Moreover, there was lava everywhere. If he was not careful, he would lose his way. Lava was not like water, where he could feel the buoyancy of rising. At the very least, he would be able to distinguish between up and down. The feeling in the lava was like a fiery swamp. He would lose his sense of direction if he spun around a little. However, Yang Fan wanted to be bold and directly sank into the depths of the lava. An extremely powerful energy was approaching. It's a supreme grade fire duck crystal? Li Zongjiu was excited. Ordinary fire duck crystals were not attractive to Li Zongjiu. However, a supreme grade one could be used by Li Zongjiu to refine a 7th grade elixir pill. A 7th grade elixir pill master was precious. There was not a single 7th grade elixir pill master in the entire Xingyan dynasty. If he could refine a 7th grade elixir pill with the supreme grade fire duck crystal in his hand, Li Zongjiu would undoubtedly become a top existence. He would directly reach the level of Dai Feng in the Xingyan dynasty. Forces like the Xianyuan sect would not dare to provoke him anymore. Status and honor would also follow. However, it was too early for Li Zongjiu to be happy. It was not a supreme grade fire duck crystal that rushed over. It was a fire attribute meta beast that was hiding in the lava. Geocentric lava beast. The geocentric lava beast looked like a huge crocodile in appearance. However, it was covered in flames. Even in the lava, one could clearly distinguish the power of flames on its body. It was the surrounding flames that allowed it to swim freely in the lava. As it moved, the geocentric lava beast approached Li Zongjiu. Unable to dodge in time, the geocentric lava beast bit him on the arm. The sharp teeth bit through Li Zongjiu's skin. At the same time, the flames in the geocentric lava beast's body poured into Li Zongjiu's body like the venom of a cobra. Ordinary meta beasts would have been burned to ashes in the face of such an attack. Damn it! Li Zongjiu raised his head and swallowed an elixir. At the same time, he accelerated the circulation of the ancient tyrannical golden body technique in his body. The geocentric lava beast's strength was at least at the 6th stage of the primitive emperor realm. If they were on the ground, Li Zongjiu would definitely be able to kill it. However, The lava was an extremely dangerous environment. The geocentric lava beast felt Li Zongjio's resistance and immediately increased the output of the flame liquid. It was determined to burn Li Zongjio's body to ashes. Just as Li Zongjio had no hope of breaking free and was prepared to cut off his wrist, suddenly, a force broke through the lava above him. Boom! The snow-white desolate heaven essence emitted the power of desolation and forcefully split the surrounding lava apart. Whoosh! It accurately wrapped around Li Zongjio's body. Following that, the force exploded and swept Li Zongjio away. The geocentric lava beast also bit Li Zongjio's arm without letting go. Chapter 951. Qi Yinran could no longer sit still. Li Zongjio had yet to appear, and the temperature of the magma was terrifyingly high. Just a moment ago, the searching dragon plate in Qi Yinran's hand suddenly pointed towards the magma. Therefore, Qi Yinran guessed that it was most likely Li Zongjio. Even Li Zongjio, who was cultivating in the magma, would definitely take action if he encountered such a precious fire flame crystal. Therefore, she directly took action and swept Li Zongjio up. Who knew that apart from Li Zongjio, there was also a fiery red crocodile that was nearly 5 meters long. Just its body alone was nearly 5 meters long, and with its 3-meter-long tail, its body was more than 8 meters long. Qi Yinran immediately saw the fiery red crocodile biting Li Zongjio's arm. Qi Yinran was immediately enraged. What the hell was this thing that dared to hurt her man? The desolate heaven essence swept out again, and this time, it accurately broke the crocodile's teeth. Li Zongjio broke free and stepped on the geocentric lava beast's head. Then his body swept to the side. He covered the wound on his arm and used all his strength to force out the teeth that were deeply embedded in his body. At this moment, half of Li Zongjio's body had turned red. The power that the crocodile geocentric lava beast had injected into Li Zongjio's body with the flame liquid that had flowed through his blood vessels and throughout his body. It could be said that the blood vessels, meridians, and blood in his body had all been tempered by the flame. His eyes were red, as if they were about to spit fire. Under the suppression of the ancient golden body art, the power in Li Zongjio's body was gradually absorbed. Are you alright? Qi Yinran saw Li Zongjio's condition and quickly asked. However, Li Zongjio's body was still naked, which made Qi Yinran very shy. Quickly put on your clothes. Fortunately you took action. Otherwise I'll lose my hand. Li Zongjio looked at Qi Yinran and said. Then he slowly put on his clothes. Originally, the geocentric lava beast wanted to leave, because it wasn't safe for him to leave the lava. But this human had used the whip in his hand to break his teeth. This caused the geocentric lava beast's desire for revenge to rise again. You bastard, how dare you sneak attack me? Li Zongjio took out his demonic hammer, and a trace of lightning power coiled around his hand. Lightning and fire constantly collided. Then, Li Zongjio also smiled coldly. His smile was chilling. He had almost died just now. Moreover, Li Zongjio and Qi Yinran had already sensed that there was a supreme-grade fire vulture crystal in the geocentric lava beast's body. Qi Yinran put away the searching dragon plate and exchanged glances with Li Zongjio. Both of them understood the meaning in each other's eyes, which was that they could not let this guy run away. Coincidentally, the geocentric lava beast also wanted to eat the two people in front of it. The reason why it wanted to eat Li Zongjio was because the energy in Li Zongjio's body was too strong. He was the best food for the geocentric lava beast. After eating him, it would be able to increase its strength. Boom! The geocentric lava beast slashed out with its claws. Immediately, the magma under the ground was stirred up, and the pillars of flame suddenly burst out. The ground under Li Zongjio and Qi Yinran's feet exploded. Qi Yinran dashed out and waved the desolate heaven essence in her hand towards the geocentric lava beast. She had been tricked once, so she wouldn't be tricked again. She turned her body slightly and swung her tail towards the desolate heaven essence. Although Qi Yinran's strength wasn't strong, the weapon in her hand was abnormally strong. When her tail collided with the desolate heaven essence, it was immediately cut off. Pa! The geocentric lava beast growled, and the magma behind it became even more violent. rushing toward Qi Yinran. A figure stood in front of Qi Yinran. Li Zongjio released the power of his demonic hammer. Dozens of terrifying lightning bolts extinguished the flames in front of him. The desolate heaven essence attacked again, and this time, it hit the geocentric lava beast's body. Boom! The geocentric lava beast's body kept shaking as it tried to break free. However, no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't break free. Qi Yinran also used all her strength to hold the geocentric lava beast's body in place. Li Zongjio didn't waste any time. Die! The demonic hammer pointed towards the sky. Immediately, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky. Boom! It instantly struck the geocentric lava beast's body. The power of the lightning even pushed back Qi Yinran's desolate heaven essence. Qi Yinran kept the desolate heaven essence. The geocentric lava beast was also struck by the lightning. It lay on the ground motionlessly. It was struck to death. This power was truly tyrannical. Qi Yinran looked at the hammer in Li Zongjio's hand. The geocentric lava beast's strength was at least at the 6th grade primitive emperor realm. It was an extremely terrifying existence among the primitive beasts. Furthermore, they were in the lava zone, which was its territory. It would also increase its attributes. In the blink of an eye, it was struck to death by the lightning summoned by Li Zongjio. This hammer of yours is very similar to the legendary Storm Hammer. Storm Hammer? What a tacky name. Li Zongjio looked at the small black hammer in his hand. Then let's call it the Storm Hammer. After saying that, Li Zongjio stuffed the small hammer into his waist. He came to the front of the geocentric lava beast, grabbed its upper and lower mouth, and pulled it apart. The geocentric lava beast's body was split into 2 halves. There wasn't much flesh, only some fiery red internal organs and bones. In its heart, there was a fiery red crystal that was emitting energy. Qi Yinran also came closer. She had only seen a transcendent-grade crystal once. Previously, the Qi family had obtained a transcendent-grade primordial stone. Although it was handed over to the imperial court, it was only a small fragment. Now she saw another transcendent-grade crystal. The fire duck crystal in front of her could be seen as a fire elemental primordial stone. Primordial stones were all elemental, or non-elemental. Anyone could absorb it, but the fire duck crystal could only be absorbed by those who cultivated the fire elemental primordial stone. Keep it first. I will give you half of it when the time comes. Li Zongjio kept the transcendent-grade fire duck crystal in the fiery hell. At this moment, there were almost 20 high-grade fire duck crystals in the fiery hell. Seeing that the lava was about to recede, Li Zongjio kicked the corpse of the geocentric lava beast back. Chapter 952. If it weren't for you, my hand would have been crippled. Li Zongjio held Qi Yinran in his arms and kissed her hard. Qi Yinran was shy, but she didn't push Li Zongjio away. Instead, she continued to snuggle in Li Zongjio's arms, enjoying Li Zongjio's overbearingness. It's too dangerous for you to practice like this. Although she didn't want to stop Li Zongjio, she couldn't help but remind him. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I promise you, I will live well. Li Zongjio said. It turned out that this was how it felt to have someone by his side. If it was in the past, Li Zongjio could only rely on himself to face such danger at the bottom of the magma. If he wanted to wait for others to save him, it was basically a dead end. And Li Zongjio never had such a habit. This time, he was saved by Qi Yinran, and had a different feeling in his heart. Yes, Qi Yinran nodded. Snuggling in Li Zongjio's arms, she felt a unique peace in this rich magma world. The Tianlong elixir in your body hasn't been completely refined, right? Li Zongjio suddenly said. Qi Yinran immediately opened her eyes wide, and looked at Li Zongjio in front of her. How could she not understand Li Zongjio's meaning? It sits here. However, Li Zongjio's trick didn't succeed. A signal rushed into the sky. This was not the signal flare issued by the committee of the competition. It was given to them by Li Zongjio before, about 5 miles away in the volcanic area. It's a distress signal. The two of them looked over. Li Zongjio was clearly a little dissatisfied in his heart. To think that his mood was ruined at such a critical juncture. No one would be happy in their heart. Let's see who the bastard is disturbing me at this time, Li Zongjiu said unhappily. Qi Yinran also covered her mouth and snickered. However, the most important thing right now was to go there as soon as possible. 5 miles of land for the two of them was only a dozen breaths of time. Although the surrounding environment was somewhat affected, it did not affect their speed too much. When the two of them crossed a small flaming hill, they found a group of people trapped by a group of fire beasts. These fire beasts were comparable to Yuan monarch martialists and had natural flames on their bodies. If they were seriously injured, they would self-destruct. The power of the self-destruct would directly injure the person who was trapped. There were 3 people trapped: Yao Feng, Lin Lin from the Tianyin dynasty, and Jin Wenfeng from the Heike dynasty. When Li Zongjiu saw Jin Wenfeng, he felt a sense of disgust and disgust. Although Li Zongjiu had already forgotten about this guy's aura, Li Zongjiu knew that he must have come into contact with the person behind this aura in his previous life. However, because it had been too long, he could not recall it immediately. Elder. Yao Feng saw Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran appear. The other two also saw them. Jin Wenfeng saw Qi Yinran first. Jin Wenfeng had long been attracted to such a beautiful woman like Qi Yinran. However, when he saw Li Zongjiu standing beside Qi Yinran, Jin Wenfeng knew that it would not be so easy to take Qi Yinran down. He still needed to wait for the right opportunity. Soon, Jin Wenfeng's gaze swept past Qi Yinran, and he looked at Li Zongjiu with great sincerity. Brotherly, this place is dangerous. You must not come in. Jin Wenfeng shouted at Li Zongjiu and Yao Feng. Even Lin Lin from the Tianyin dynasty felt that Jin Wenfeng's words were too fake. This kind of low-level provocation was extremely obvious to anyone. However, the lowest level of provocation could generally have a significant effect, especially when there was a beautiful woman beside him. Right now, the 3 of them were surrounded by nearly 30 Yuan King-level fire beasts. Yao Feng was already injured. If it was not for Lin Lin taking care of him, he would have been eaten by the fire beasts. Pull the 2 of them out, Li Zongjiu said. There was no need for unnecessary communication. Qi Yinran understood Li Zongjiu's intention. The desolate heaven essence wrapped around Lin Lin and Yao Feng from a distance of nearly 100 meters and easily pulled them to the top of the cliff. Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Miss Lin Lin. If it was not for Miss Lin Lin, I would have died in the mouth of the fire beasts. Yao Feng said gratefully. Lin Lin had also suffered serious injuries. Now that she was rescued by Qi Yinran, she felt slightly better. It was still difficult for Lin Lin to accept owing a man a favor. Even if the person who helped was Li Zongjiu, Lin Lin might not accept it. A life for a life. We don't owe each other anything. You can go, Li Zongjiu said to Lin Lin. Lin Lin did not expect Li Zongjiu to be so precise with his calculations. It was truly shocking. However, such a method was the best for Lin Lin. Both of them did not owe each other anything. At the same time, before Lin Lin left, she turned around and took a look at Jin Wenfeng, who was still surrounded. She guessed that Li Zongjiu was going to teach Jin Wenfeng a lesson. Although she did not know what grudges there were between the two, it had nothing to do with her. She turned around and left in a carefree manner. Although Yao Feng wanted to thank Li Zongjiu, he did not have the strength to do so. Furthermore, they were still in the midst of the competition. Since the elder had said that they did not owe each other anything, he naturally could not continue to dwell on this matter. However, Yao Feng was puzzled. Why didn't the elder save Jin Wenfeng as well? The 3 of them looked at Jin Wenfeng below. Jin Wenfeng was caught in a bitter battle. All the fire beasts were attacking Jin Wenfeng at this moment, and Jin Wenfeng also used many methods to block the fire beasts that rushed up. Brotherly, what is the meaning of this? Jin Wenfeng took the time to glare at Li Zongjiu. Obviously, he was very puzzled by Li Zongjiu's behavior. It was as if he had offended Li Zongjiu in some way. Li Zongjiu actually saved the other 2, but did not save him. He did not understand what Li Zongjiu meant. Was he going to turn a blind eye to him, who was in danger? Immediately, Jin Wenfeng's eyes revealed a trace of murderous intent. Elder, just now, Jin Wenfeng also helped us, Yao Feng said. Li Zongjiu raised his hand to signal Yao Feng to stop. There is something wrong with this guy, Li Zongjiu said indifferently. His gaze was extremely calm as he looked at Jin Wenfeng, who was struggling in the midst of the fire beasts. In his heart, he was thinking whether he should take the initiative to kill this brat or wait for these fire beasts to kill him. In any case, Jin Wenfeng had to die today. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would not feel at ease. Yao Fong did not say anything after hearing the elder say that there was something wrong with Jin Wenfeng. If the elder said that there was something wrong with Jin Wenfeng, then there was definitely something wrong. Yao Fong had absolute trust in Li Zongjiu's character. Jin Wenfeng was forced to retreat again and again. The pressure from the fire beasts that gathered around him was too great. In the end, Jin Wenfeng also stopped hiding. His aura, which was originally only around the level of a grade 2 Yuan monarch, was actually increasing rapidly at this moment. It directly reached the level of a grade 6 Yuan monarch, almost catching up to Long Xian. Yao Fong was shocked when he saw that Jin Wenfeng was actually still hiding his strength. The elder was right. There was really something wrong with this guy. At the very beginning, the situation was not so dangerous. If Jin Wenfeng had erupted with such strength earlier, they would not have fallen into such a predicament. Yao Fong's strength was not strong. He was only a Yuan ancestor, which was why he was in such a predicament. Chapter 953. Jin Wenfeng had already decided that he would find an opportunity to deal with Li Zongjiu after he got out of here. He would also take away all of Li Zongjiu's talents. This was not the first time he had done something like this. How dare Li Zongjiu look at him as if he was a joke? This made Jin Wenfeng very angry. It felt as if Li Zongjiu was playing with a monkey. However, Jin Wenfeng had yet to escape. Li Zongjiu raised the demonic hammer in his hand. Immediately, the demonic hammer attracted a bolt of lightning from the sky and struck down. It accurately struck Jin Wenfeng's body. Boom! Jin Wenfeng did not even have time to send out a distress signal before he was struck by the divine lightning summoned by Li Zongjiu. Immediately, Jin Wenfeng's body could not help but stiffen. The fire beasts below also swarmed up and devoured Jin Wenfeng's body in an instant. Everything he had on him had been burned to ashes. Yao Fong's eyes widened when he saw this scene. He simply could not believe his eyes. Jin Wenfeng, who was a 6th grade Yuan king, was still alive just a moment ago. But in the blink of an eye he was killed. Now it was almost impossible to find his corpse. This person is really pitiful. Li Zongjiu shook his head, as if he was very sympathetic to Jin Wenfeng's fate. Qi Yanran did not say anything. Li Zongjiu would never kill the innocent. Qi Yanran was very clear about this. Ordinary people were simply not worth Li Zongjiu's attention. Jin Wenfeng could be considered to have picked up a bargain. He had actually attracted Li Zongjiu's attention. Yao Fong, why do you think he was so pitiful that he was eaten by a group of fire beasts? Li Zongjiu said to Yao Fong. Immediately, he nodded his head as if he understood something. Yes, that's right. It's really pitiful. We came late, elder. Yao Fong's tone seemed to be extremely regretful. Li Zongjiu patted the latter's shoulder when he saw how good the prescription was. Little did they know that Jin Wenfeng, whom Li Zongjiu had killed, was a seated genius secretly cultivated in the Black Canal Basilica. The so-called seated genius was a kind of genius who specialized in absorbing the talents of others. However, they had not expected that he would encounter Li Zongjiu and be killed so easily. Naturally, it was these fire beasts that killed Jin Wenfeng. In the distance, Lin Lin, who had already left, also turned her head to take a look when she sensed the lightning. Her intuition told her that this lightning was not simple. However, this matter had nothing to do with Lin Lin. She had to continue looking for fire duck crystals. Every contestant had their own method of finding fire duck crystals, but it was hard to say how efficient it would be. Li Zongjiu also didn't bring the prescription to look for the duck fire crystal. Instead, he and Qi Yanran continued to search for duck fire crystals. At the same time, they also took a stroll around the surrounding Duckfire volcano. Black Canal Royal City. There was a temple in the inner city, and there was no one around it. Occasionally, a few people dressed in long robes would come in and out. No one else could get close to it, and generally, no one was qualified to enter it. At this moment, there was a room in the temple. There were 5 lamps lit in the room. One of the lanterns suddenly blew out on its own with a whoosh. A look of panic flashed across the face of the black-robed priest, who was in charge of keeping watch. This was something that had never happened before. To think that something like this would happen. The extinguishing of this light meant that a genius that the divine temple had painstakingly nurtured had died prematurely. Why hasn't his soul returned? The black-clothed priest cast a spell, but he didn't expect that the lamp in front of him didn't respond at all. The priests of the Black Canal Basilica had the means to summon souls. Although some people died, as long as their souls were still there, they could be saved. However, this time, there was no movement at all. The only explanation was that his body and soul had been destroyed. This is bad. The black-clothed priest immediately ran out in horror. He reported this matter to his superiors. These seedlings were cultivated in different ways, and each of them was incomparably precious. Now that such a thing had happened, and they were destroyed, the Black Canal Basilica must find out the reason behind this. After a round of investigation, it was quickly determined that one of the 5 who died was Jin Wenfeng, who was participating in the elixir gathering of the 3 dynasties. He was also the weakest one. Several red-clothed bishops gathered together for a discussion. It doesn't matter if he's dead. We'll soon send Li Zongjiu of the Shengyan dynasty and Mu Qingniu of the Tianyan dynasty into the secret realm. When the time comes, we'll take away their talents. This trash wasted the temple's efforts. A red-robed cardinal made a conclusion. After coming up with a backup plan, they became more unscrupulous. The Black Canal Basilica naturally attached great importance to the existence of Li Zongjiu and Mu Qingniu. The Black Canal Basilica was very strong, but it still wouldn't let go of any opportunity to become stronger. As long as it found something, it would definitely bring these people over. It was precisely because of this that the Black Canal Basilica became more and more powerful. Before unifying the entire continent, it must not be arrogant. However, we can't be careless about this matter. Investigate carefully. Recently, several families on the continent have been unfriendly to us. Maybe it was them who did it. The red-clothed bishop said. Yes, bishop. The black-clothed priests under him dispersed and acted separately. At least, they had to find out what happened. At the very least, they had to bring back the bodies. 2 days later, the sun was setting. The people who had entered the Mallard volcano gradually walked out and headed in the direction of the west exit. Among all of them, only one person used the organizing committee's signal flare. That was Nan Peixian. In these 2 days, it was already a miracle that Nan Peixian was able to survive. If he wanted to come from such a far place, it was almost equivalent to sending Nan Peixian to his death. Therefore, Nan Peixian didn't hesitate to find a relatively safe place and let people bring him back. When Nan Peixian's figure landed, he blushed because he was the only one who called for backup. But at least Nan Peixian survived. The people who came later, including Lin Lin and the others, were more or less injured. Ling Yin even limped out. In any case, she was still a beautiful woman. With this limping, she looked very peaceful. However, they also sincerely admired Ling Yan's willpower and unyielding spirit. This woman would not be simple in the future. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran also appeared. Before they appeared, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran checked the fire duct crystals in their hands. In the end, they gave out 20 elementary fire duct crystals and 5 intermediate fire duct crystals. The rest were all placed in fiery hell by Li Zongjiu, including a transcendent-grade fire duct crystal. The other 2 dynasties returned with full members. However, Jin Wenfeng of the Heike dynasty didn't return for a long time. What surprised everyone was that when the time was up, the judges directly disqualified Jin Wenfeng. First, they counted the fire duct crystals in everyone's hands. Then, they sent people to Mallard Volcano to search for Jin Wenfeng's whereabouts. However, this was often futile. These people wandered around Mallard Volcano for so long, but they didn't see any corpses. Naturally, they didn't. The temperature here was higher than a crematorium, so no corpses could be stored here. Therefore, searching for them was tantamount to looking for a needle in a haystack. Unless someone knew the specific location, they could still capture some aura. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.